So. Yeah.
Okay, just so everyone's aware, we are live, we are recording, we are streaming. We will proceed at 10 a.m. as scheduled. I'm going to mute the room.
Since it's something we not usually.
The board members are ready. Again, Ms. Matias, we are live, we are recording, we are streaming on YouTube. If there's no issues, you may proceed with the board's executive review session.
Sorry for the sign.
Microphones on.
Microphones on, please.
Commissioner Shida just joined. Good morning,
I see.
commissioners.
And do announce that.
Yeah.
Shitan.
Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals Public Review Session. It is. Oh, sorry, hold on a second. Okay. Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals review session for January 6, 2025. No public testimony is permitted during the review session. Please note for the record, Commissioner Nazasheta and Commissioner Chris Yoon are joining us virtually. The first items are adjournments. Item number 1, 2024-01A, 2848 Farber Terrace, Queens. Item number 2, 2024-10BZ, 1679 63rd Street, Brooklyn. Item number 3, 2024-23BZ, 334 Douglas Street, Brooklyn. Decision items. Item number 4, 785BZ, 9738 99th Street, Queens.
Okay. We received a revised submission that included all the specific comments that the board had asked for the applicant to clarify. And it also updated the ECB violation. The applicant is continuing to seek an amendment to the hours of operations. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that again. It's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Mondays through Saturdays, to 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays through Saturday. And so I know we had asked for the continuous use, but I think the applicant provided a very satisfactory submission as to why it is not applicable. I have no other comments on that. Is that okay? Everybody's okay with that?
Satisfied with the application.
Yep, good. So then based on the revised submission, I then make a motion to approve this application with the following conditions: that the shed over the parking area shall be removed prior to obtaining a certificate of occupancy, and the certificate of occupancy shall be obtained within 18 months from the date of the grant. The hours of operations shall be limited to Mondays through Saturdays, 7 a.m. To 5 p.m.
I
No.
thought we're seeking to extend it.
7 a.m. to 6 p.m. 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. My bad on this one. I had it written down as 6 somewhere else. Okay. And the prior conditions regarding the rear wall of the building, that shall continue to remain, that it be exposed to it. If it is exposed to adjoining property, then it be faced with brick. So those are the conditions. I make a motion to approve.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
All right.
Commissioner Opley Brown, Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Do you want to put a term on it? But it's a post 61. It's a discretion term. I'm putting it. I'm not putting it. Yeah.
No.
I'm actually reinstating it without a term. I just want to make sure if everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's okay. That was my understanding. Steering, yeah.
Item number 5, 826-86BZ through 828-86BZ, 26910 Grand Central Parkway, Queens.
Okay, the board received community board vote to disapprove because board did not get the response that it wanted from the applicant, which is providing a listing of vendors that would be using the transmission equipment located on the roof of these 3 buildings. So I just want to kind of make sure we all understand what is the limitation of this board and what we are reviewing it for. This is an application for an extension of term of the special permit pursuant to zoning resolution section 73-141 for non-accessory radio tower and transmitting equipment placed on the roof. Now, board's findings are limited to the location, design, and method of operation so that such, and I quote the statutory regulation, which says non-accessory radio towers or television towers will not have a detrimental effect on the privacy, quiet, light, and air of the neighborhood. So I would say based on what the board has reviewed, we have ensured that any of these equipments would continue to not affect these elements of privacy, quiet, light, and air on the residents who are living in these towers. Also, I want to make it very clear that the cellular towers at the subject site is lawfully established. It was approved under, though it was approved under 7330 under the radio tower regulation, it is now certified by FCC and is regulated by FCC requirements. So the numbers and all the regulations are controlled by FCC. Similarly, the operations of these other equipment is also regulated by FCC, MPE, and other applicable regulations. So keeping all of those in mind and ensuring that these radio television towers will not have a detrimental effect on, as I mentioned, the privacy, quiet, light, and air. I am comfortable with what the applicant has suggested and all the various maintenance and the operation plans it has put in place. It has continued to demonstrate that it is maintaining the required operational and maintenance plan and has provided an analysis of the existing RF factor and all prior measures that are in place and are still in effect. An expert report was provided that concluded that with the measures that are in place, the rooftop of the building will continue to be in compliance with the FCC and the MPE guidelines and all other applicable regulations. So, and the plans have been corrected to make sure all the regulations are there and the operational conditions, all of that are in place. And as I, sorry. And based on the lawful establishment of the existing cellular antenna, which is regulated by FCC, board is requiring that within the total number of 75 limit for each building, the number of remaining towers be limited to the number specified on the plan. I hope is that clear to, okay. So if everybody's okay with, do you have anything to add, commissioners, before I go into the conditions of the approval?
No.
Okay, so you're satisfied with the applicant submission? Okay, all right. Then based on that, I want to make a motion to approve this extension of term for 10-year from the date of the expiry, which was on 1/26/2025, with the following condition: that the certificate of occupancy shall be obtained within 18 months from the date of the grant. Types and locations of all access signage indicated on the rooftop plans are based on the findings of the PureCon Solution LLC report dated September 18, 2024, and titled An Analysis of the Existing Radio Frequency Environment on the Existing Roof of North Shore Towers for Continental Communications, Inc. Additionally, from the previous resolution, these are the conditions that should be carried forth. The testing of the radio frequency level shall be conducted semi-annually, once every 6 months, and the results shall be provided to Building Management and the Shareholders Association, currently known as North Shore Towers Community Association. And as I stated earlier, the number of radio and TV antenna on each building shall be limited to the number that is stated on the plan. With that, motion to approve.
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown, Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application's been granted. Excuse me. Item number 6, 18513BZ, Volume 3, 97 Franklin Avenue, Brooklyn.
This was an application for an extension of term. So I make a motion, there was no submission that was
Right.
required. So I make a motion to approve for a 4 years extension of time to complete construction and obtain certificate of occupancy.
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown, Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Hey, Tony,
Yes, sir.
this is the second time I didn't hear Commissioner Brown saying aye. I'm not sure if
others who are remote can hear that.
I
Okay.
also did not hear it.
Just put the microphone.
That.
Commissioner
Okay.
Sheta, were you able to hear her? We were able to.
Because you're in the same room, maybe. Commissioner Yun, did you hear it?
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Yeah, now I can, yes.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you.
So let me call the vote one more time then to correct it. Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta, Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Okay, application's been granted. Item number 7, 2021-17 BZ, 8719 Rockaway Boulevard, Queens.
Okay. So I have to say, I'm very disappointed with the applicant representative. This is kind of, there seems to be a pattern that is happening. And so I'm going to state this. This is another case of a situation where there is a disconnect between the legal representative and its client. The case was first heard on March 28, 2023. We're almost approaching 2-year time now. After 3 rounds of hearing where the applicant provided timelines of improvements to be made, including building out the trash enclosure by April and May of 2024, board closed the hearing on November 28, 2023. The applicant was given ample time to make the improvements, and it was scheduled for decision on March 11, 2024. However, board had to reopen it on that day because of the changes that were made on the plan, which were contrary to the prior board's understanding of the layout of the site and what the board had reviewed. So it was scheduled for a hearing on May 6, 2024, where board accepted the revised plan and closed the hearing. Based on the scope of work and improvements to be made, board scheduled the hearing for June 10th, 2024. Since then, since the second closing, applicant had asked for 3 deferrals. At the last scheduled decision date of September 30th, board warned the applicant that no additional deferral will be accepted. In its latest submission of December 20th, applicant states that the operator and lessee are committed to build out the trash enclosure and will utilize the same contractor to build the canopy and the trash enclosure to achieve cost saving, time efficiency, and minimize disruption to the existing operation. I think these are very reasonable statements to be made, especially for a single business operator who is trying to make the best of to make it financially feasible and also make the site keep the site operational as much as possible with minimal disruption to its operation. However, I wish if there were a better communication between the client and the applicant, then such a delay of over 1 year could have been avoided and the legal fees minimized by the applicant client. So since the community board had voted unanimously to approve the reinstatement and no complaints were received by the board, with this warning to the applicant, please do not do this again. Do talk with your client properly and know exactly the timeline and realistically what can be achieved. I make the following motion to approve the reinstatement for 10 years and that certificate of occupancy shall be obtained within 12 months from the date of the grant. And the date of the grant is today. Okay. Is that okay to with everybody? All right.
Okay, motion to approve, Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. Item number 8, 2018-33 BZ, 3141 97th Street, Queens.
Okay. The new owner has retained a team to resolve all the DOB and ECB violations. And the latest submission outlines the status of the violations. Some have been addressed, some remain because of the pending BSA approval. So I was satisfied with the application. If everybody's satisfied, I want to proceed. Okay. I then want to make a motion to approve Okay, let me ask you, is 2 years reasonable or do we want to make it, I think the standard is 4, so we can,
I think 4 should be reasonable.
4 should be reasonable? Okay, all right. So I then make a motion to approve a 4 years extension of time to complete construction from the date of the grant.
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. Item number 9, 2024-35A and 2024-37A. This is 30 and 32 8th Avenue, Manhattan.
Okay, I'm going to read out something that's going to be a little lengthy, so please bear with me. The appellant is appealing DOB's determination of January 7th, 2024, that denied the issuance of letters of verification in confirming the legal use of the building located at the subject sites. The board's appellate jurisdiction is limited to arbitrate disputes regarding final determinations of applicable code, law, and rule. During the hearing, board disagreed that the charter contemplated the DOB letter of verification process to be directly appealable to the board. Court directed the board to consider this appeal, and the board notes that per New York City Charter Section 666 contemplates 666 subsection 6 contemplates those determinations delineated in Charter New York City Charter Section 645, requiring the application of regulations and interpretations as directly applicable to the board. The board reaffirms that letters of verification are not such determinations, and no such determination has been made by DOB for board to take any action on. In considering the appeals, the board considered the following questions, and I want our commissioners to be aware of that and make your response accordingly. That is, are there valid COs for the subject sites? What is permitted based on these certificates of occupancy? What is a letter of verification? And was DOB rational in denying this letter of verification, these 2 letters of verification to permit transient use? And was a Class B transient use permitted at this site based on these COs? And what is the process for changing a validly issued CO? So upon review of all the information that has been provided, statements made, and based on past cases, I come to these conclusions. That is, with regards to the validity of certificate of occupancy, these COs are valid, and the COs permit Class A permanent residential use. With regards to letter of verification, these documents are required when a valid CO requires clarification or verification. DOB was rational in denying these letters of verification to permit a transient use, and as the certificate of occupancy did not require a clarification. And the certificate of occupancy reflected a Class A occupancy, which is a permanent residential use as opposed to a transient use. Therefore, a transient use would be a change of use, which would be contrary to the last validly issued certificate of occupancy. With regards to the DOB denial, Class B transient use is not permitted at the site based on the validly issued COs. Only permanent Class A occupancy is permitted, and all CO application would be needed to be filed to change a valid CO. This is based on what we have heard at various hearings, and cases that are brought before us for our appeals are based on validly issued COs or non-validly issued COs. Based on these evidences and facts that has been provided, I believe, therefore, and DOB was rational in denying the request for letters of verification, and DOB has directed the appellant, and which was stated at the hearing, to file all CO applications to seek the proposed change of use for the subject site. So before I get into the motion, I just want to, whether we approve or deny, I just want to hear from each commissioners. Do you want to add anything to the statement? Vice Chair Shibeta?
I agree with your statement. This is a valid CO. This valid CO is for a Class A use. Letters of verification are for clarification purposes, not for an opportunity to change use. And this was a perfectly clear and valid CO, so there isn't much confusion in what it permitted and what it didn't permit. Based on the CO, transient use is not permitted. If they wanted transient use, they could have moved to amend via an alt CO. And I understand that has been something that, well, I'll leave it there, but I have nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown?
I agree with both of you that DOB acted rationally. They acted according to their existing policies that are very clear and transparent with respect to exactly what is on the C of O and how one would go about changing their C of O. And in this case, those policies were not followed.
Thank you. Commissioner Sheta?
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to be repetitive, but I totally agree with your findings regarding the case. I have nothing further to add.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I also agree with what you stated, and I believe that I stated it at the last hearing in September. I have nothing further to add.
Okay. Okay, so motion to deny DOB's determination,
No.
right?
No,
Motion approved.
Motion to deny the appeal.
Wait,
Well,
no, the appeal.
I'm sorry, it's a motion to approve.
Yes, we only make motions to approve.
Okay.
right.
No.
There's an application that came before. It's the application's requesting them.
It's challenging DOB's determination, right?
I just want to state for the record, to uphold the appeal here would be to determine that DOB must approve this proposal via letter of verification.
So
Okay.
but there is an
That is a
application
different way to
before
put it.
us that they made a request and we were going to either approve or deny the request.
Yeah.
So
And
motion,
it wasn't made by DOB.
right.
Yes.
By the
Appellant,
hotel.
right.
So
I'm sorry, I will,
you just want to get to the end of it. I get it. Get to.
all right, go ahead.
Okay, motion to approve, Chair Shanda. Motion to grant the appeal, Chair Shanda.
No,
Vice Chair Shibeta.
No,
Commissioner Otley Brown.
No.
Commissioner Sheta.
No.
Commissioner Yoon.
No,
Applications have been denied. Item number 9, 2024-16A, 61 Muriel Street, Staten Island.
okay, just, sorry. So no submissions were required on this application, so I make a motion to approve with the conditions that the site shall be built pursuant to the approved plan, including no parking signs that will be located on the curve at which Lunston Avenue and Muriel Street meet, along with the location of all fire hydrants. These are all fire department conditions. If everybody's okay with that, motion to grant?
Chair Shanda.
Aye.
Vice Chair Shibeta.
all right.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta.
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
aye.
Application has been granted. Item number 11, 2022-23 BZ, 1520 East 56th Street, Brooklyn.
Okay. It's the 56th Street. Yeah. Okay, just one second. I'm just scrolling through my notes. There were no submissions that were required. So it's motion to approve.
Chair.
Do anybody wants to add any conditions? I didn't think it was necessary. Okay.
Chair Shanda.
Aye.
Vice Chair Shibeta.
All right.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta.
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. Item number 12, 24-19 BZ, 5802 Northern Boulevard, Queens.
Okay. plans were revised to add in all the environmental conditions. So I want to just read out what the environmental condition is, that an E designation for hazmat has been placed on the zoning map. Further hazardous material assessment shall be conducted through OER. So with that, if everybody's satisfied with this application, I'm going to read out the conditions. If you think the conditions need to be added, let's discuss it now. Approve with the, I want to make a motion to approve with these following conditions. And they are, this facility will be used as a showroom only. There will be no maintenance, repair, or test drives of vehicles at this establishment. The drive-through will strictly be used for egress of inventory vehicles. To ensure an acceptable interior noise, environmental commercial use must provide a closed window condition with a minimum of 28 dBA window wall attenuation on the facade facing Northern Boulevard, and a closed window condition to maintain a closed window condition, and alternate means of ventilation shall be provided. A EV charging station that are being proposed. There are two EV charging stations proposed. That is subject to DOB review and approval, and all lights will be directed downwards and away from the residential property. I want to add a note for council that the proposed operational plan that was provided, it shall be included in the resolution also. If everybody's satisfied with these conditions, okay, then motion to grant.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted.
I want to thank our BSA team who have been working on this and have brought this to fruition. Jella, Chase, Carlo, Tracy, thank you all.
Item number 13, 2024-32 BZ, 2424 Highland Boulevard, Staten Island.
Okay. We did receive revised plans in response to board comments. So I actually like the revised elevation. It was a concern that you had with it. I think the response is very good.
Right.
It looks good. All I would, my recommendation will be that this rendering that was submitted be part of our BSA approved plan set. The truck maneuverability plan also has been included in the BSA set, and the signage. So wheel stop also have been added, landscaping chart has been provided. Okay. So with that, I want to make a motion to approve, and there are conditions. So please let me know if you want to add or change any of these conditions. The conditions I'm recommending are that there shall be no vehicle deliveries along Highland Boulevard. Landscaping and fencing shall be installed in accordance with BSA plans. No loudspeaker or amplified devices shall be used on the site. If a fossil fuel is permitted to be used for HVAC, it shall be natural gas. And HVAC type shall comply with applicable laws and regulations as determined by DOB and other relevant agencies. Hours of operation for dealership shall be limited to Mondays through Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sundays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And for the services, the repair would be limited to Mondays through Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. A site shall be secured through the installation of security camera and 6-foot-high locking gates along the entrances to the parking lot from Locust Avenue. And the waste product for auto repairs and services shall be stored inside the building and only for this, right, inside the building. So I want to add a note also in this one for council that the operational plan that was provided should be mentioned in detail in the resolution. Any suggestions? Any?
If you could just clarify the hours on Friday.
Oh,
They'll do it.
Actually, it should be hold on. That's a good point. It's Mondays through Thursdays. Why is it saying Mondays through Thursdays? Let me go through my notes. Good catch. Hmm. Does
I
anybody?
thought it was the same as Saturday, but I have to look.
Okay.
I realized I had the same thing in my notes. I didn't have a time for Friday.
Yeah, I think it's the same. I must have typed it incorrectly. 202432. 2024. I'm sorry. Is that what you, Jella, is that what you're seeing? I'm actually scrolling through the statement of facts.
I was looking through the statement of facts, but I couldn't find the hours of operation. I'll get back to you. I'm looking into it.
On page 12, towards the bottom, it says Monday to Thursday, 9 to 9, Saturday, 9 to Sunday, 12 to 5. So there's a omission of Friday.
Oh, so, yeah, so so the overall, the dealership will operate, you're right, Mondays through Thursdays, 9 AM to 9 PM, Saturdays, 9 AM to 6 PM, and Sunday, 12 to 5
That should be
PM.
over there in about 5 minutes. I just had to leave the site to take care of something.
And the service will occur Monday through Saturday, 7 AM to 6 PM. So, okay, I'm going to put this on a second call. Can we please get a clarification from the operator? I think this might be a typo because I'm going
Yes.
by what the statement is saying.
Okay, I'll contact the applicant and
Yeah.
get back to you. I see the exact paragraph and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, because the service of repair is from Monday through Saturdays. So. Okay, let's do a second call on this one.
Okay, second call on 2024-32, Beasley.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Hold. Okay. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Okay. Appeals calendar, item number 14, 2024-47A, 2315B, Demeyer Street, the Bronx. Just for the record, I know there are people in the room who want to participate, but this is review session first. Then when we open it up for the public hearing and we'll open it up for the public, then you'll be able to speak. But right now it's still review session. Okay?
Okay, so this is an application that has been submitted by Department of Building to revoke certificate of occupancy number 2010-88063F, issued on July 13, 2012 for the subject site located in an R3X zoning district. So this site is part of a zoning lot, which consists of 2 tax lots. And the subject site is the original zoning lot was subdivided into 2. So the original lot that was 39, which was subdivided into tax lot 39 and tax lot 38. And tax lot 38 is the subject site, which is for which the CO is being requested to be revoked. So based on the information that has been provided by DOB upon review of that, I have, so the objections that the DOB has raised is regards to the reason for which the CO is being asked to be revoked is that the built structure does not comply with open space, open area requirement of zoning resolution section 23-891A, required minimum distance between the buildings pursuant to section 23-711, and zoning FAR, which exceeds 0.5 for the entire zoning lot, whereas which is the maximum permitted in an R3X district. I just want to note the zoning resolution sections,
God
bless
bless.
you.
Bless
The zoning resolution sections I quoted are the pre-ZHO zoning resolution sections, so please be mindful of that. So upon review of the applicable zoning resolution sections, then, and DOB's review, I have, I have some questions. So also, I hope everybody got a chance to look at the professionally certified plan that was submitted on Friday. I thought it was helpful because I just wanted to get an understanding of, because a lot of it is the distance between the two buildings. So it was important for me to review it. So based on the certified plan, it seems up to 18.93 feet on the building 2315, which is on the original lot 39 and on 2315B would total to 20.93 foot. So it seems that that was provided. Now, regarding the applicability of zoning resolution section 23-891A, I need DOB to make these following clarifications. So based on the definition of rear wall, wouldn't a 30-foot distance be required from the rear of the building that is located at 2315, as well as 30 feet from the rear wall of 2315B facing southwest to the rear lot line of the zoning lot? Since 2315 is existing, is the original building, is DOB stating that the distance of 30 foot that would be required between two buildings had to be factored in when the new building permit for 2315B was filed, and 2315B building should have been located in a manner to maintain a 30-foot distance from the rear of the 2315 building, as well as maintaining a 30-foot rear yard at the rear lot line. That leads me to the other question is, should the tax lot have been reconfigured to allow for a 30-foot rear yard for 2315? That's a question I have, even though that has not been raised, but that's a question I have. With regards to the applicability of zoning resolution section 23-711, I have no comments on that. I agree with DOB's assessment of the distance that would be required between wall to wall. With regards to zoning applicability of zoning resolution section 23-142, which is the maximum permitted FAR of 0.5 on this zoning lot, I found the discussion regarding excess FAR on the zoning lot confusing. Per ZR 23-142, would the additional rule A apply, which would allow for an increase in FAR by 20% for floor area located under sloping roof? If so, would the building exceed the maximum permitted FAR? Assuming that FAR on the zoning lot exceeds the maximum permitted, which is the 0.5 plus 20%, here are my following questions. Provide the certificate of occupancy of 2315. Board received only 2315B and does not have any information regarding the certificate of occupancy for 2315. Need DOB to clarify at the hearing the timeline regarding the certificate of occupancy and approval of the Alt 1 and NB. Because on page 4 of the statement of fact, 6th line from the bottom states, however, certificate of occupancy was issued before Alt 1 was signed off. Now, Alt 1 approval for 2315 was received on December 13, 2006, which was filed 2 days prior to the approval of the new building permit for 2315B by the same architect. At the same time, the subdivision approval in 2006 certificate of occupancy for 2315B was not obtained. So certificate for 2315B was obtained 2012. So that leads me to the question and the confusion with regards to that statement. Also, I need DOB to clarify regarding the accountability of correcting the excess of 400 square foot that remained on the zoning lot that was not approved, nor was it accounted in the certificate of occupancy. Alt 1 processing that was done for 2315, it was to convert 400 square foot of residential use to accessory garage, which is not counted in floor area. Garage is not counted in the floor area. When the new building permit was approved, it analyzed 2315 having legal garage and not a 400 square foot of residential floor area in the basement. So is it that at the time of issuance of certificate of occupancy in 2012 for 2315B, 2315 was not in compliance with the December 2006 Alt 1 approval? And was the owner of 2315 aware of the Alt 1 filing and approval that was done and that they had to revert the space back to a garage space? This leads to a different angle of the discussion, but it's an important one. And as to who is therefore responsible then for fixing the 400 square foot, it is the responsibility of 2315 or 2315B is really what my question is. So those are the questions and I need clarification on. I need those to help me understand this application. Vice Chair Shibeta.
Thank you, Chair. I had shared many of your questions. I do want to reserve statement because I understand that the owner is present and hasn't had the opportunity to respond to this and is going to be present at the hearing. So I'd like to hear his comments or her comments.
Owner of 2315B?
That's what I understand.
Okay.
Their representative is going to be here. Is that?
And then 2315 is also going to be here.
And
So
so I'd like to
the
hear,
daughter of the owner. That's what I've been told.
before I make any further comment, I'd like to hear them.
Sure. Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I think this is a very unfortunate situation, which illustrates the challenges that the city has had with enforcement with the professional certification program. I believe if this was plan examined, it certainly would have been caught immediately in terms of the distance between buildings wall to wall. I think that's very clear, part of the zoning resolution. There's no way around it. There's a chart that illustrates it. You decide whether or not you have legally required windows or windows in a wall that aren't legally required. You go to the appropriate column, you go down to the appropriate row, boom, it tells you the distance between buildings. So I feel that Department of Buildings definitely is justified in raising this objection now and requiring the owners of either of those lots to comply, plain and simple. As for the floor area situation, I do know that 2315 has a flat roof, so it doesn't have any floor area under a sloped roof. 2315B has a very shallow attic space. I don't know if there's any living area in there at all. So I do think that's also a pretty clear issue. I think 2315, when they filed for their Alt 1, which I believe was done for the architect who worked on 2315B, I think he did both of them. It was clear that the space in the front, that's an apartment that still appears to be an apartment today based on the Google Street View photos all along, never showed any change of that front basement area. It was clear from the plans that should have reverted back to garage. I'm actually familiar with this area. I have somebody who lives literally 2 blocks away from here in the almost exact same building. And so I'm pretty familiar with the layout, and it is supposed to be a garage followed by some living area behind it. But that clearly isn't the case here. I think that 2315 is out of compliance with their approved plans based on Alt 1. And so I believe that the owner has to transform that area back to garage space.
So in other words, what you're saying is that, if someone were to, barring the zoning lot and other things, if the FAR allows it, if someone were to convert the garage area to a residential use, it cannot do so per zoning regulation because it's a basement, so.
He
you
could do it.
Right.
But the point at which the lot was split off and the plans were created for 2315B, it was clear that they were going to use floor area that had already been
Right.
utilized, which is why they filed that Alt-1 to revert it back to garage to free up the 400
Right.
square feet. So the fact that 2315 did not then transform that space back into a garage, that is problematic. And I believe that the owner of 2315 is responsible for doing that, even though they may not have known what was going on, what the strategy was of the architect. That's never been used as a justification for allowing somebody to be out of compliance with the zoning resolution. You can't sit there and say, I didn't know the architect wanted me to do that, because frankly, you hired the architect. So you're responsible in hiring the architect. It's like if I hire a contractor to renovate my apartment and I don't file for DOB permits and I get caught, it's not a suitable defense for me to say to DOB, I didn't know I needed permits for my kitchen renovation. My architect didn't tell me. No, you have to be responsible.
So I think the only part to me that is not clear is how was that Alt-1 file, under whose guidance and approval?
I don't know if it even makes a difference. It's that it was a representative of the zoning lot, the combined zoning lot, who filed it. Whether or not the owner knew this was happening, it's almost irrelevant. And that's what makes it unfortunate. But we have situations all across the city where architects, engineers don't act in the best interest of the people who hired them. And the people who hired them end up jammed. We had a case here that came for a special permit about 8 years ago, I believe, where the brother and sister had hired the architect.
Yes.
And they didn't know that they were creating a large bulk non-compliance at the time. They trusted their architect.
So I guess the question is why DOB has brought the action as to 2315B and not 2315 or both properties? And DOB could answer why some sort of property action on 2315 wouldn't fix these issues here.
Right. I think the only issue that could possibly be fixed regarding 2315 is the floor area issue. But distance between buildings, I don't think there's anything you could do at this point. Foundations are in, buildings are built, they're occupied.
Right, and I think that's
Unresolvable.
right. In that case, 2315 stayed where it is. It's the way the zoning lot was subdivided should have factored that in. And therefore, the placement of the building would have ensured that the 30-foot distance or the required distance of 30 is the higher number. So therefore 30 should have been maintained. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the problem with professional certification.
Right. But when you're subdividing the lot, you have to get an approval from DOB or Department of Finance to kind of approve it, to make sure that the zoning lot
Is developable,
is developable, and even if,
marketable.
right. And you may have done it without factoring in that 30-foot, but when you place that next building, that property owner is responsible to ensure that next building has to comply with the distance of between the two buildings, right?
Which could be why the action was brought against 2315B.
And I think those are the things that I felt the document lacked, providing that clarity, and we need to understand that. Thank you. Commissioner Sheta?
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to be repetitive, but upon reviewing the submission from DOB, I believe the three issues DOB are putting on the table are not so complicated. I would say that I'm like very close to adapting a position that I don't want to declare on this case for now until I hear from the respondent, if any, if it's going to be a respondent, and then take a position. But I believe if nothing changes in the facts, that should be a clear-cut case. And I leave it there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I agree with what's been said, and I also want to hear from the property owners and just to talk about the subdivision of the lots. You could still subdivide it this way, but design a property that managed to comply with these requirements. So I don't know if the review of the subdivision was the critical factor, because it is a developable property as it is. It's just the review of the new building permit should have taken into account the distance between buildings. Which does seem, I had the same question as general counsel, but about why 2315 isn't part of the action, but it does seem that the distance between buildings is only solvable by the new building.
Yeah.
I have nothing further to add.
Thank you.
I'll just note for the record that there is litigation regarding or multiple actions regarding these properties, 2315 and 2315B. Nothing has been presented to prevent DOB from bringing this action or the board from hearing it. That's not to say that it can't be brought or something can't be filed, which would stay our review, but there is nothing filed to stop the board from hearing this matter.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Jason. Special order calendar, item number 15, 8892 BZ, volume 3, 3007 East Tremont Avenue, the Bronx.
Okay. Applicant made its submission. Plans have been revised to reflect the outdoor dining area and the rear yard. Also, we received the community board approved letter. I have to say, I think a little bit simple Google search could have answered some of these questions better. Regarding signage compliance, applicant provided a submission of Google Street View of 2 frontages from 2007 and assuming 1 street view from and another street view from 2012. It was not I didn't find the submission helpful because it did not show both the frontages clearly. At a minimum, all the applicant needed to do was to find a street view or a location that would get both street frontages from 2007 to present, which I was able to find. So absence of a dimension of what board asked was simple, and I was able to find a location from where you got the street view, which showed both the signages, and that was visible from 2007 to 2024. So also these street views show that there has been no change to the rooftop mechanical system. With regards to the outdoor dining, it was a COVID outdoor dining area, and earlier street views of the outdoor dining is the earliest street view that I could find was from July 2021. So a note should be added to the plan regarding this outdoor dining that BSA takes no position on the outdoor dining and it is subject to DOT approval. Those are my comments. Otherwise, I'm satisfied with this application. Vice Chair Shibata.
No further comment.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I am also satisfied. No comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
I'm satisfied with the application. I have no further comments.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I'm satisfied.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, new cases on the special order calendar, item number 1699-00 BZ, volume 4, 14706 76th Avenue, Queens.
Okay, we received proof of service of initial hearing and initial filing. Committee board has voted to approve this application. This is an amendment of a previously approved bulk variance to enlarge the existing religious school that is located at the subject site. It's a corner lot, and the initial action that was taken by the board was in 2007, which was bulk variance, which was for just, there are two uses, I would say. There is the school, and then there's the dormitory. And the variance was for the dormitory structure, and it was the bulk variance for the dormitory structure. It was mostly the height, not FAR. And so the applicant is proposing to amend this enlargement of the existing school building. It is not affecting the dormitory building. It's only proposing to enlarge the existing school building, which is an as-of-right building. And the proposed FAR will stay within the maximum permitted community facility FAR of 2. So there's no change in the FAR. So the only reason why it is before us, because there was a BSA variance that was granted where the board had to make some necessary findings, especially with regards to the neighborhood character. I think in this case, the applicant has to submit all the necessary, has to go through the findings and indicate how this enlargement will not affect any of the findings that the board had made back in 2001. I was satisfied with the information that was provided, and the proposed enlargement is within the maximum permitted height limit and the sky exposure plane. And it, as I stated, the proposed amendment does not in any way change the dormitory portion of the building. Vice Chair Shibata.
I have no comments. I'm satisfied with this application.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I'm satisfied with this application.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
I have no comments.
Okay. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I just want to make a note that the lot coverage that's permitted is 55%, but because there's the exception for community facility that falls under 23 feet from the base plane, it does not contribute to the lot coverage. I had difficulty understanding the lot coverage calculation, but I don't want to opine on that. I just want to make it clear that we're not taking a position on whether the lot coverage as presented is compliant, because it is a bit complicated on this site. And that DOB would be responsible for reviewing that and making sure that that is compliant, because the footprint of the building is considerably larger than 55%, and the portions that are community facility that fall under 23 feet, we're not here to calculate that. But I just wanted to state that for the record, because it does look like it takes up a lot more of the site than 55%.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Yes. If the applicant can shed some light and clarification, that would be helpful. But regardless, I think that the note as suggested by Commissioner Yoon should be included.
Move on.
Yes.
Item number 17, 2215 BZ, Volume 2, 219 26th Street, Brooklyn.
This is an application for an extension of time to complete construction and obtain a CO, which expired on December 5th, 2021. And the applicant is also seeking a waiver of board's rule. So for an extension of time, we don't need a proof of hearing or initial finding. The applicant stated the reason for delay because it's really with regards to the job halted and DOB approval and ownership, and there was financial hardship, and of course COVID was in the way that delayed in the construction, and there was a cost escalation associated with it. The applicant states that there's no construction has started. So I want the applicant to clarify if the owner has secured the financing and an architect team has been retained to start the DOB process. Applicant is stating it needs 4 years' time to complete construction and obtain a CO. So I just want the applicant to clarify what are the next steps that the property owner has taken. Vice Chair Shibata.
The only comment I have, the same line as the one you have. What is the timeline for completion? What are they thinking? Did they secure financing yet? What are their next steps? If they could please lay that out.
Okay, thank you. I think they're asking for the maximum 4 years' time.
I just want to know how they expect they're going to be using this 4 years.
4
to
years'
get
time
this
to-
project
okay.
concluded.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
My only question was requesting a timeline as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. I share your comments and I have nothing further.
Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Okay.
Item number 18, 2018-151A2, Volume 2, 6-05, 129th Street, Queens.
Okay, this is also an application for a 2 years extension of time and 2 years to complete construction and obtain a CO, which expired on November 8, 2024, to develop a 10-story residential building that is located partially on a bit of a mapped but unbuilt portion of 6th Avenue. So we do not need a proof of service of initial filing or hearing for this. Back in 2020, a GCL 35 waiver was approved with condition that and that had to do with the amended drainage plan and to comply with DOT. So the applicant states a reason for the delays. The DOB issued an audit regarding compliance with waterfront regulations pursuant to zoning resolution 62511. And applicant has submitted its response to DOB and is awaiting DOB's response. I just want to state that when I look through the document, we did not waive any of the underlying zoning regulations, especially with regards to waterfront or any other regulatory DEC permits, flood regulations. So applicant has to comply with all those regulations. Building has been completed, photos have been provided. An applicant is seeking, I believe, 2 years to complete construction and obtain CO. So if you can confirm that, that would be helpful. Vice Chair Shveta.
I have no comments on this.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have no additional comments.
Okay. Commissioner Sheta.
I'm here. Thank you.
Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Continued hearings on the appeals calendar. Item number 19, 2023-41A through 46A, 71 through 91 Long Street Avenue, the Bronx.
Okay, we had to reopen this case at the last hearing on October 21, that is. Board had to reopen the hearing for clarification regarding the proposed street widening of Long Street along former lot 150, I think it's former lot 157. Former lot 154. Applicant submitted its response in a letter dated December 18th. I want to go through the response that were made. I also want to note that I think when I was looking through the note, I don't know what, I didn't look at the video, but in my notes, I did incorrectly state the former lot number to be 57. It really should have been former lot 154. So if there is any confusion that led to it, my sincere apologies, and I hope the applicant is listening in what I'm stating and at the hearing can make clarification to that effect. So with regards to the December 18th letter that the applicant submitted, I want to go through the responses that were made. So point number 1, I found the applicant's letter to be misleading regarding DOT's comments regarding proposed curb cut for lot 57 being too close to the intersection of Hatting Place and that the curb cut be 50 foot away from the intersection. It's in an September 9th, 2024 email from DOT to BSA staff. In that, I looked through that email, and the statement does not at all refer to Chaffee Street. Only intersection in reference would be the existing active intersection of Long Street Avenue and Hatting Place. Now, with regards to the requirement of 50-foot from the intersection, I know I have heard this statement made by applicants themselves, and in the drawings it's been indicated, but I do not know where that regulation comes from. So it would be helpful for DOT to clarify the applicable DOT regulations with regards to the 50-foot distance that needs to be maintained from this intersection of Long Street and Hatting Place for lot 57. Since Long Street Avenue is not going to be open between Hatting and Chaffee, and no curb cut is proposed on Long Street frontages, hence the placement of the curb cut for lot 57 is on Hatting Place. So which is understandable, and therefore the question of the 50-foot from that intersection of Hatting and Long Street. Now, with regards to response number 2, I agree that the applicant should not be required to build out Long Street from Hatting to Chaffee when it is owned only when the developer only owns a portion of the block and the remainder is owned by different owners, including city. Regarding the conditions of the builder's pavement plan be approved prior to the issuance of TCO, applicant states that they're open to a condition that the builder's pavement plan be approved prior to the issuance of TCO. In this case, with the complexity of ownership title, builder's pavement plan must be submitted and approved prior to securing a construction permit. And the reason for that is as follows. With regards to item response number 5, regarding the ownership of Long Street Avenue along the frontage of former lot 154, I don't believe the applicant has provided any clarity regarding the question that I had raised at the October 21st hearing. So portions of lots, the now subdivided lots, lot 150, 151, 52, 153, 155, will be developed with homes as part of the street widening of Long Street. These lots are under the ownership of the applicant. In doing the math, 24 feet of these lots' frontages will be used to widen, build Long Street Avenue. According to the latest builder's pavement plan and site plan, of the 24 feet width, 15 foot would be built, would go towards building the sidewalk, and that would leave us with 9 foot that would be used towards the construction of the street bed. Per plan, the proposed width of the street width of Long Street is 30 foot wide. That would mean 21 foot of that road bed would be built in a piece of land whose ownership is not known. And based on applicant's October 15th letter, it states, quote, enclosed, please find a street status letters and status letter and corresponding diagram, noting that the city has title vesting on Hatting Place and Long Street Avenue only for the portion of the same between lot 54 and 157. The remainder of Long Street, as noted in deeds and the title policies, is privately owned. How can the applicant commit to building out the roadbed to 30-foot width when it owns only 9 foot of it and the remainder is privately owned? So part of GCL 35 approval is that the site plan and the commitment to build out the roadway to a 30-foot width to fire department access way requirement is provided and is buildable. So therefore, I need clarity on this, and I don't think I can approve the plan without having the clarity as to who would build out full width of 30 foot. That is a condition of fire department for access, fire egress and access to these lots. I had shared a site plan at the last hearing. I don't know if it is there in file. I have it still with me, but what I can do is during the hearing, I can have it shared if it helps the discussion. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. No comment.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have no additional comments.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing further from me.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you, Chair. I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 2020-24-14A, 23 Zarelli Court, Staten Island.
Okay, applicant made its submission. A revised plan has been provided with notes regarding the flood regulation and DEC and the correct lot number. We still have not received a fire department approval. We need the fire department sign off. And in its review, fire department wanted the plan to include all the required fire department fire hydrants, street dimension, parking requirements, and use. I have a question. Did fire department require any no parking along the easement? That wasn't clear because typically in the past, fire department has asked for it, and I just want to make sure we have a clear answer on that one. I believe the secret status is still open, and so is WRP. Ms. Benke, is there any update on that?
The submission of the comments to EAS, the response to comments from the latest EAS submitted in October.
Okay. Thank you. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing further from me on this application.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have no additional comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
I have no comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Okay. Okay.
New cases on the appeals calendar, item number 21, 2024-39A, 34 Van Street, Staten Island.
Okay, we received proof of service of initial filing and hearing. We have not received a community board recommendation yet. This is a GCL 36 application for redevelopment of an existing building on the subject site that is not fronting on a mapped street. So the two streets that the subject site fronts is Van Street and Tompkin Court, and these are CCO Street, but are not map street. Over the time, historically, this particular site always had a use and has had an active use at this site. So it's really, I think, for procedural reason that the applicant is seeking a GCL 36. The site has been operating and is accessed by the CCO streets, at least if not before 2003. It is the change of use and a change in a CO that is requiring a GCL 36.
Yeah, I was just going to add that the building has a validly issued CO from
Yeah.
2003. And to change a use requires, as we know, it's an alteration to a CO. Any Alt 1 or Alt CO, a change in use, occupancy, or egress requires a new issuance of CO. GCL 36 language very literally says to issue. So that's why they're here.
And the to issue means CO.
Yeah, no CO shall issue unless. And were this a residential building, it would be permitted pursuant to GCL 36 sub 3.
Because there are other,
It's a non-residential. Yeah.
because it's only because it's non-residential, we
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah.
Vice Chair Shibata.
I'm satisfied with this application.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have no additional comments.
Commissioner Sheta.
Two things. I haven't seen a FEMA map, so I'm asking them to submit one. If there is just an index map, just to give it to us. The second, I haven't seen like any discussion for the violations in the statement. So if there are any discussions, any violations, please discuss them in the statement of facts. That's all. Thank you.
With regards to FEMA map, this is a non-residential use. So I'm not sure how would we still need a FEMA map for that, since it's not a habitable space. It's
But we always. put it-
That's true, but I believe even for like industrial buildings or commercial buildings, it should be still some regulations that apply. I just want to see the FEMA map and know whether this is a flood zone or not, and if it is, put our disclaimer on the drawings, on the site plan.
okay.
And we did the same, I believe. We did same exact thing before. That was like probably 3 months ago with a similar case.
Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I have no comments.
Okay, do you want to go back to the second call?
Yeah, I just want to
Yeah, he submitted.
Monday through Friday. Okay. That was a good catch.
Yeah, we closed. It's in the letter.
Okay, going back to decision items, item number 13, 2024-32 BZ, 2424 Highland Boulevard, Staten Island.
Okay, so I want to read out my proposed conditions. There shall be no vehicle deliveries along Highland Boulevard. Landscaping and fencing shall be installed in accordance with the BSA approved plans. No loudspeakers and amplified devices shall be used on the subject site. If fossil fuel is permitted to be used for HVAC, it shall be natural gas, and HVAC type shall comply with the applicable laws and regulations as determined by DOB and other relevant agencies. Hours of operations for dealership shall be from Mondays through Fridays, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sundays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And for 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through
says some-
Friday, Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday from 12 to 5 p.m.
Said
Sunday from 12 to.
Sunday, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. And while service and repairs would occur Monday to Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Oh,
This comes from
okay.
the applicant.
I need.
So let's let it read out.
Yeah. Well, no, read it.
Okay, so sorry, the hours of operation is Mondays through Fridays, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sundays, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m., and the service and repair would be from Mondays through Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
That's correct.
Okay.
Dealership is 9 to 9. Yeah, Saturday, 9 to 6. And, Sunday, I made it wrong, 12 to 5. Okay.
Do you want to read out the rest of the statement?
Yeah, and the site shall be secured through the installation of security camera and 6-foot-high locking gates along the entrance to the parking lot from Locust Avenue. Waste products by auto repairs and service use shall be stored inside the building. And note to council that the operational plan shall be mentioned in details and the resolution. With that, is everybody okay with that? Do you want to add any conditions, clarify any conditions?
She did.
Okay. Is everybody okay? Right.
Motion to,
Grant,
ready?
Yeah.
Motion to approve, Chair Shonda,
aye?
Vice Chair Shabeta,
All right.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted.
Thank you. Thank you all. This concludes our review session. We will resume with the hearing it's 11:20, so let's meet at 11:30.
11:30.
11, does that give enough time for everybody to get their team together? Okay.
Okay, so we'll start with the appeals calendar at 11:30. Okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. We're about
Mic
to
on?
proceed with the public hearing session.
Mic
Right,
on,
Ms.
please.
Matias, we are live, we are recording, we are streaming. You may proceed.
Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals public hearing for January 2025. Please note for the record that Commissioner Yoon and Commissioner Shetter are joining us virtually. The first item is appeals calendar, new cases, item number 14, 2024-47A, 2315B, DeMeyer Street, the Bronx. Department of Buildings. Ms. Brandon? Megan Brandon is the attorney that is handling this case. Please join us, Ms. Brandon.
I think Ms. Brandon is having a technical problem getting on. Hold on.
Excuse me? This one before?
Hello, sorry about that.
Okay, so, from my understanding, the Yonika is represented by Nicholas Vitucci, as what I've been expressed to know, and then the property owner for 2315 DeMeyer, represented by his daughter Mary Rabnapur. She's calling in by the phone. Just check. Okay. So DOB will speak now and then we'll open it up for the property owners, okay?
Okay, thank you. Good morning, chairs and commissioners. The Department of Buildings requests that the Board of Standards and Appeals revoke the certificate of occupancy for the premises at 2315B DeMeyer Street in the Bronx, block number 4416, lot 38, in an R3X zoning district. The 2315B premises is a building located behind 2315 DeMeyer Street, which is on its own tax lot, but both are on the same zoning lot. On July 13th, 2012, the certificate of occupancy number 2010-8806-3F for the 2315B premises was issued. Audits and review by the department demonstrate that the CO was issued contrary to provisions of the zoning resolution. Therefore, the department respectfully requests that the board revoke the CO. By way of background, on December 15, 2006, a professionally certified new building application for the 2315B premises submitted by Gino Olongo, a registered architect, was accepted. This application resulted in the CO that we seek to revoke today. 2 days before the new build application being accepted, on December 13, 2006, the same architect filed a professionally certified alteration application for the 2315 premise to remove a prior illegal conversion of the basement into dwelling space and to revert it back to its lawful garage space. Based on the removal of that illegal conversion, the new build for the 2315B premises proposed to use the 400 square foot allocated to the garage space area, as once the space reverted to a garage, it did not need to be included as floor area. In 2022, in response to a complaint, the department initiated an audit of the new build application and determined lack of compliance with the zoning resolution, namely zoning provisions 23-891A and 23-711. On July 19, 2022, the Bronx Borough Office issued a notice of intent to revoke with notice of objections dated July 15, 2022, which included objections requiring the 2315B premises owner to address the objections. On October 24, 2022, the Bronx Borough Office issued a warning letter to the 2315B premise owner, stating that the department might initiate an application at BSA to revoke the CO, stating that the CO may have been issued contrary to zoning resolution 23-142 due to the access floor area on the zoning lot, ZR 23-891A regarding the minimum distance between the walls of the two buildings on the same zoning lot. The 2315B premises owner did not respond to either the July 2022 notice or the October 2022 warning letter. The failure to comply with the zoning resolution objections included in the DOB objections is the basis for this request that the board order the revocation of the CO. First, the ZR 23-891A requires where there are two or more buildings on the same zoning lot containing residences, a minimum of 30 feet rear open area adjacent to the rear wall of each such building. Here, the 2315B premises is on the same zoning lot as the 2315 premises, and there is only a rear open area of 18 feet. Therefore, the 2315B premises is not compliant with ZR 23-891A. Secondly, ZR 23-711 requires a standard minimum distance between the portion of a building containing dwelling units and any other building on the same zoning lot that varies based on the average height of the buildings and the presence of windows in the walls facing each building. Where the buildings are of different heights on the same zoning lot and face each other, the average height of each building is taken to determine the required minimum distance between them, for which the height may be measured from either the base, plane, or curb level, as set forth in the chart of ZR 23-711. Here, the average height of the 2315B premise and the 2315 premise is measured as 25.75 feet, which makes the maximum building height above curb level 35 feet, according to the chart. Since there are no legally required windows in the walls facing each other, this is a wall-to-wall condition, making the required minimum distance 25 feet. Because the distance between the 2315 premise and the 2315B premise measure only 18 feet, the 2315B premise is not compliant with ZR 23-711. And lastly, ZR 23-142 requires that in an R3X zoning district, the maximum floor area ratio permitted on the zoning lot is 0.5. Although the Alt 1 for the 2315 premises was issued based on the removal of the illegal conversion of the existing building's garage to living space, the CO was issued before the illegal conversion was removed, and as a result, the CO for the new build was issued with an excess of 400 square feet on the zoning lot. Because the floor area on the zoning lot exceeded what was permitted at the time of the issuance of the CO, the 2315B premises is not compliant with ZR 23-142. So in conclusion, the CO for the 2315B premise should not have been issued because at the time it could not comply with the zoning resolution. Therefore, the department respectfully requests that the board revoke the CO.
I'm sorry, Chair, are you speaking? Because we can't hear you on the recording.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I need a clarification on that certificate of occupancy and the date and how that was before. Because the dates that were provided, and as I read it out, unless I'm wrong, it seems to be the CO was approved. I mean, the timeline of it is not quite going with the narrative that you presented. So I'm confused by that. So as I understand it, Alt 1 approval for 2315 was received on December 13, 2006, which was filed 2 days prior to the approval of new building permit for 2315B.
Correct.
Now, at time of the subdivision approval in 2006 CO, sorry, at the time of the subdivision approval, in 2006 CO for 2315B was not approved. So when the subdivision was approved in 2006, there was no new building permit that was obtained for 2315B. So how could have even CO for 2315 be obtained prior to the subdivision? It was obtained in 2012. So I'm a little confused with the timeline and how that therefore is adding to the FAR part of it, the discussion.
The timeline being that the approval for the new bill was in 2006 and the CO was issued in 2012.
The new building permit was issued in 2006, yes.
Right.
And so the statement says CO was issued before the Alt 1 was signed off. That's where I'm confused.
Signed off as in the work that was approved was completed. So that was never done, meaning that the unlawful living space still remained and was not converted back to the garage space. That has not happened.
Okay. Right. And NB was approved based on the alt, right?
Right.
This prior, right. So it's the space between the alt 1 and the NB is where the fault lies. Because the NB assumed that the alt 1
Would be prosecuted.
would be prosecuted, but the alt 1 was not.
Correct, it was not.
I
That
don't,
conversion,
I don't believe it's like those 3 days being the operative period, but that alt one could have been prosecuted fully at any point, which would have rendered both buildings compliant based on DOB's interpretation.
So that leads to the question of whose responsibility is in that case? Is it 2315B or 2315?
in regards to the conversion back to garage space? Yeah. The conversion back to garage space would be on the premise owner of 2315. And then the obligation to carry out what was approved in the new build would be on the 2315B premise owner.
Okay.
But at the time of the CO inspection, there was access floor area on the zoning lot, regardless of whose fault it was.
Okay. And the question I had regarding the FAR was, does the site qualify, wouldn't the site qualify for the 20% floor area located under sloping roof? Because when I looked at the NV plan sections and elevation, there is a little bit of a sloping roof, and I don't know whether that would have allowed for that 20%.
At this time, I'm not able to answer that question, but I'll happily get back to you with that information.
And so regarding the 28,891, the distance between buildings. So is my what I was trying to discuss, what I stated at the review session is correct, is that 30-foot distance is required from 2315 building.
Yes, the distance is required for both. But at issue here is the distance between 2315 and 2315B, given that, but the rear area for 2315B wasn't raised as an objection during the audits. But based on plans, it appears as if the distance, if you're asking of 2315B, the rear distance is compliant with 23-891A.
Okay, so that's the part. How is 23115 is complying?
It's not.
Okay.
There's not a 30-foot minimum distance, rear distance for 2315 because 2315B is too close to it.
Okay, so and it was the responsibility of 2315B to maintain that 30-foot distance.
Correct, given the order that the new build came after the existing 2315.
Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. Any questions? Commissioners, any questions?
Chair?
Yep.
Yeah, just a clarification. Ms. Brandon indicated that the distance between the two buildings is 18 feet. If I'm looking at the right distance, if you allow me to share my screen, maybe I'm not understanding it correctly, but move that. We're talking about this distance, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Which should be 30 feet. Ms. Brandon, you said it's 18. I believe the 18 is from the building to the end of the stone patio. And then you have actually from the property line to here is about 19 feet. And then you have another 2 feet here. So it's about 21, not 18. I just wanted to raise this as a clarification.
Yeah, it is. Stated. It's 18
I can hear you.
18.93 plus 2.12. That really is the distance. Yes, it is still shy of the required 30.
Yes, understood. But I just raised it for clarification, like I said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions from any of the other commissioners?
So going back to the discussion with general counsel during the hearing about whether an action should be taken on 2315, is it correct that the 2315 approval would not need to be revoked, but that compliance would have to be enforced? And that's why there's no action taken against 2315 as regards the floor area?
I think it's accurate to say that, yes, if there was a non-compliance, action would be enforced in real time. But what's important to note is that at the time the 2315 CO was issued, it was issued properly. There weren't issues there. Whereas in contrast to 2315B at the time of its CO issuance, there were in fact existing issues.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, let's go to the who do we call? And I can't go to the public. We have to talk to, who do we talk to first?
So,
The property owner.
so 2315B would be Vitucci, as I understand, and then 2315 is a caller, she's on the phone, so she's calling in.
Okay, so first would be Vitucci.
Right, and then the other one's caller for 2315. Yeah, I believe she's calling user. Yeah, it's Mr. Vitucci. Mr. Vitucci? Yeah, Mr. Vitucci. Can you? Okay. State your name for the record and that you're representing Ms. Janika.
Yes, Nicholas Vitucci, representing Donica Matoya.
You may proceed.
So as far as the, to clarify, I understand that the 20.93, 21 feet distance was less than the 30 feet. I was aware that the two windows had to be put on either side of the 2315, which at the time, with the architect Gino Longo, we were aware that we had to put windows, 2 on each side of the third and the second floor, to comply with bringing the buildings closer. And that's something that we were planning on doing. The garage area, that was supposed to be done as well. During 2006, from 2005 on, my father owned the building, and I was in charge of all the construction and representing with Gino Longo. And as we were doing all the work, and we were still willing to do this work, we're just being blocked by the owners of 2315 now, which took possession in 2008 due to multiple lawsuits against my father. So this was it was a silent investor that became an owner and put onto the deed in 2008 with the agreement that we were going to do all this work. Then they just kept breaching the contract and not allowing us any access, and it's been an ongoing litigation for the last 15 years nonstop. And we're still willing to do the work, which is put the 2 windows in, which would fix the compliance in the in between 21 feet, and replace the garage door and remove all the interior, put it back to a garage basically. Because if you notice on the plan, there is no parking. There's an easement there because that's an easement to get into 2315B for the driveway, which is also being blocked by the people in 2315.
Just one moment. You stated that you have reason to believe that adding windows would relieve yourself from the 30 feet. Is there anything that supports that statement?
You'd have to get that with Mr. Longo. He explained it to me. It's very technical, but he explained that whole thing to me. Even after I did go to the building department and speak to them regarding the first time I got the notice for the revocation of the C of O application, that they were going to do it. And I went in and spoke to them. And then I spoke to Mr. Longo, who explained that again to me. But this is, the details of the architect. But he said that we are in compliance as long as we put the 2 windows on either side of 2315 and remove the garage. It's just that we can't do the work. We've had court orders to go in and do the work, and the court orders were blocked. They just won't allow us in.
Mr. Vitucci, let's take one step at a time. First of all,
Sure.
I want to understand, who are you representing at this point?
Donica Matoya, which
And who
is also this at the time, this was my living girlfriend, and she's the owner. And I'm also a partner with her silently in the product in the house 2315B.
owner of 2315B.
Yes.
Okay, so you do not own 2315.
No, we did own 2315 when we were doing all the work. It was a family owned property, 2315. And it was built in 1960. Somewhere along the line, when I was a child, somebody renovated to make a room downstairs, which we found out later was illegal and all of this. So when we first took possession in 2005, we hired Gino to modify the whole interior of 2315 and rooms and add, kitchens and do everything legal and remove the garage. So everything was being done in 2315. We just didn't remove the garage or put the windows in, and we were still working, with doing the construction, and everything was going back and forth. The same construction people were going to do that work when we broke ground on 2315B. Unfortunately, somewhere along the line, we got into, when we went to get the loan approved, we were sued by Mr. Rad Pavar, or Mr. Rad, who had just what do you call it? It was, he just had a document that that he lent us money, and he was suing and putting a lien on the property unless we put his name on the deed. So in April of 2008.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
that
May.
thing that is important for
Yeah.
us and that's not before us. I just want
Well,
to,
I'm just trying to put a timeline on it, that when we did all the work and everything was done with Mr. Longo, everything was approved by the actual owners. Afterwards, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My question has to do with Mr. Longo's statement that if you just put windows on the side of the building, you would cure your distance between buildings.
Yes.
And is that based on his contention that this would become a wall-to-wall condition and not a window-to-window condition?
I'm not sure what the actual, I'd be putting words in his mouth. I know that he explained it to me technically, that it's legal. That's why we built it that way. The only thing is that we didn't put the windows in because we're being blocked by doing that. And that's something that we on 2315B would take full cost on, replacing the windows, putting the windows in and putting the garage in. There's no, I'm not contesting that we have to do it. We're just not being allowed to by 2315. They're refusing us to do the work.
Still, if it were to pick you up into the wall-to-wall condition, you still have a building height issue.
Right.
Your building height is in excess of 25 feet. So your average building height between both buildings, which kicks you into the second column of maximum height of 35, which means that even with a wall-to-wall condition, you would have to have 25 feet between both buildings, and you only have 21 or 22. So you're still short your required distance because of your height issue.
Okay, now, would that have anything to do with the the sloping roof?
no,
Okay, all right, because there was another issue I heard you speaking to about the sloping roof for the FAR, for the
Right.
FAR and the 20%. So again, this was the only thing that I could add to that is that during the time that we did this, they changed right after we got the work permits and all of that, like a couple of weeks later, they changed the rules and wouldn't allow certain things anymore. That he said that you're lucky you got in just under, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be able to build this anymore. So there may be a timeline from like where maybe you're looking at the distance of that roof, and I'm only guessing this, that because of what he said, that you may be looking at the new rule versus like the old rule from like the previous rule. Was there a previous rule that was changed during the time of the build?
that is really a question that can be answered by DOB and your architect. You have
Right.
to provide that supporting document, both of
Mhm.
you, for us to understand that.
Mhm.
As far as I recall, I don't think there's been any change, but I don't know of the details of any minor changes that may have happened, affecting especially two of the zoning resolution sections that require a certain distance. You're referring to zoning resolution section 23711, which is distance between wall and window, which based on the analysis that was done in the approved plan, assumed a different building height. And that's why a lower distance, a shorter distance was determined, but the required distance is much more than that, based on the average height of the existing building and the new building, which is 2315B. Now, in addition to that, there is also another regulation, which is 23891, that also requires a distance between two buildings on the same zoning lot. There has to be an open area, and that open area has to be minimum of 30 foot. And that regulation also has to be met, and that responsibility falls on the person who is building 2315B, because 2315 is already existing. There's no moving that building. So whatever gets built on that second newly created tax lot, that building has to make sure a 30-foot distance has to be met, which was not provided. Now, I don't think that regulation is new or was after 2006, but that is something that needs to be confirmed by your architect and by DOB.
Yeah, well, as far as I understand through the architect, that it was 100% in compliance with just putting in the windows on the second and third floor of 2315 and removing the garage. And that was all that we needed to do to be 100% in compliance. And again, which I say was just constantly blocked and still to this day is blocked. And, we would send somebody in there tomorrow to do the work if they would allow it, but they just refuse access. As far as, is Mr. Longo, does Mr. Longo join this conversation? Is he part of this or no?
Mr. Vitucci, please, you have.
So I was just wondering, this is the particular action that you're litigating in court now, this access to install these windows.
Right, right. To do we went to court and we were suing them for not allowing us because they were causing us to lose our C of O. So we had a civil matter that was going on with this, which it was dragged through court, and I never heard anything since last year where they were gonna call me for mediation to get this thing resolved, and I never heard anything from anyone. They have the 2315B also. I mean, 2315 has their lawyer who has not responded to one phone call that I've made. He never returned one phone call every time I try to speak to him, and I'm the pro se on this, so he is supposed to speak to me, but I don't know what's going on with the court system. No one seems to be getting back to me on anything.
So Vitucci, I just want to, for the interest of time and the subject matter, we are not interested in knowing what is happening with what's at the court. All we are here to discuss is the DOB's revocation of the certificate of occupancy for building that is 2315B.
Okay.
So let's keep our discussion focused on that.
Yes. Okay.
I think I have to say, Mr. Vitucci, I don't believe that adding windows in 2315 is going to solve your issues. And I think you should get, as a personal suggestion, I think you should get a second opinion from an architect before you spend any more money trying to pursue that as a method of compliance, because I don't believe that will get you there.
Okay. I guess on my side, the next thing would be to speak to Mr. Longo and ask him if he has the supporting documents for, and if he doesn't, then I don't know why he wouldn't, because he told me that he did, and he told me that it is 100% in compliance with just doing those changes.
I understand, but I'm telling you, as a registered architect and on this board where everyone is contributing to this conversation, and DOB has provided a statement very clearly stating how this isn't in compliance. And I don't believe that adding windows in 2315 or in 2315B is going to resolve the two objections that DOB has outlined in their statement regarding the distance between those two buildings. So I just want to make that very clear before you continue to pursue that as a method of compliance, because I don't think it will work.
Okay.
So and appear process, I think it'd be helpful for you to have representation as well.
You mean a lawyer?
Yes, I think.
And your licensed architect and an architect of record who can go through these regulations, applicable regulations, and clearly state what really was required at that time, and the professionally certified plan, whether it complied with all the regulatory controls that was applicable. I think it is in your best interest to do that.
There's a lot on the line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to make clear for the record, just searching ACRIS and New York State filings, the only actions between these property owners, there are no actions between these property owners regarding access. It's only about subrogation of liens and judgments.
It could be in a cross claim.
But it really kind of isn't relevant to our case.
Right.
Is DOB rationally acting according to its published policies? That's basically, you know.
As long as they don't have a
unfortunate.
step. But as long as they-
So you're, as registered architects, is there any other solutions? Because obviously you can't move it, if you're correct and Mr. Longo is incorrect, how do you
Mr. Vitucci,
do-
Mr. Vitucci, we are reading the regulation as it's stated, and what the regulation states, as I think Commissioner Otley Brown was very good in explaining, that there are tables out there, and there's a way you have to analyze to use the numbers that are in the tables. And I think the way the analysis was done, which had to do with the height of the building, average height of the building, was incorrect. And that led to a lesser distance between the two buildings. The average height of the building, as indicated in DOB's letter, is much more. And therefore, it trips you to a higher threshold of the distance requirement. So even if you were to put windows there, you cannot make up for the distance requirement of what is it?
891, 891A. So maybe to clarify, DOB in its letter states that this is already a wall-to-wall condition, which is the shortest condition in the table, 23.711. So
Isn't installing windows make the required even more?
Makes it worse.
Well,
Yeah.
only if you're trying to get the legal light and air from other elevations, and therefore you could make it a non-legally required window, and therefore you could, I believe, make it a wall-to-wall condition. So if you add windows so that you're providing legal light and air from other elevations, then you can treat it as a wall. But I don't think that's the case based on DOB's statement, or at least DOB is not reading it that way. They're already stating that this is a wall-to-wall condition, which is the shortest distance between buildings that's required.
It's the height that kicks them from the first column to the second column, which is based on the average height of both buildings. That's where your issue lies.
But then the problem, is just the 23.891A requirement that requires 30 feet of open space. So we can keep talking about the distance between buildings wall to wall, but you still have this 30-foot requirement that is not in compliance. And that's that's where adding windows, not adding windows, like it's a moot point really, because their buildings are too close to each other.
Is there any adjustment that's made for the distance from the street to the building?
No.
No.
So the regulation was very clear. It stated that if you have a zoning lot with more than one building, each building shall be treated as a segment by itself, as a separate zoning lot itself, and you have to maintain all the required distances that you would have to maintain if it were two separate zoning lots. Even though it's same zoning lot, that distance has to be different, has to be the same as another separate zoning lot. So that is the one that is requiring to provide a 30-foot distance from the rear of the building, that is at 2315, to your property line or to your building. Even if, let's say, you did not have a tax lot, it's one zoning lot and you're putting two buildings, the distance between the back of the 2315 and your building had to be 30 foot. That's the rear yard open area requirement. And regardless of walls, windows, wall, window, wall, doesn't matter. I think that is a higher threshold number that has to be met. And if Gino Longo is saying that that regulation was not in place back in 2006, I do not have any documents that tells me otherwise. You will have to provide the supporting document to indicate what was the regulation that was in place based on which these new building permit plans were drawn and complied with then regulations. And this question also goes for DOB. It's for both of you to respond to that question. What were the applicable zoning resolution sections then? And how were they complied with when the new building permit was professionally certified?
Okay. I'll speak to Mr. Longo about that, and I'm sure he has the answers because he's given them to me plenty of times.
Okay, if he's going to, he has to submit a letter certifying that he's providing this letter. It has to be certified with a stamp and his license and all of that.
Okay. All right, I'll get in contact with Mr. Longo on
Okay.
that. And
Go ahead.
what's the other issues that we have?
So I think that's the biggest one that you have to address, because if you can address that, I think you will be able to address that wall to wall, window to wall, wall to window, or any combination of those.
Okay, but what about the other
my
things? Because I heard you saying about the FAR and the 20%, 0.5 plus 20%. And you asked about the roof, the slanted roof.
So that's another question that has to be both addressed by you, by your architect, and by DOB. If I understand the zoning resolution section, it's saying you're allowed 0.5 FAR, but you're also allowed a 20% of additional floor area if it is between the height of 5 and 8 feet. Now, I cannot verify it from the sections here, but that is something you would need to analyze, and DOB would need to look at to see, does that 20% therefore give you the full FAR?
Yeah, it is on the plan.
Well, no, the plan was not very clear to read. There are different ways to analyze it, and I'm not going to take the expertise on this one. This is really between DOB and your licensed lawyer, licensed architect, I'm sorry, who provide that clarification. I'm just flagging that if that was factored in, because that only helps you, provided it can work.
Yeah, I know it was factored in. I could explain it, but if you'd rather have it from the architect, that's fine.
Yeah, it's not shown diagrammatically or any way for any one of us to understand.
Okay.
And it's really
Just to clarify it, the top floor was the 8-foot ceiling was cut on a slant. It's only about 4 or 5 inches from the ceiling, cuts down and angles it down so that the wall on the outside walls are not 8 foot. They're under 8 foot, and there's a slant that goes in there, and that was the technicality for the compliance to get the extra 20% FAR.
I will say, Chair, if you look at the microfilm plans that were provided last week, there is an attic splay diagram. There is a calculation of attic floor area. There's a section showing the attic splay detail and the rise over run. So it does appear, at least in the 2315B building set, that was accounted for.
Yeah, it seems like it is. And there is also a slope roof condition on the, I don't know if that can count, on the first floor. There's a certain amount of floor area below the slope roof condition on the first floor, and then there's a certain amount of floor area below the slope roof condition on the second floor.
But does that matter if you're getting the bonus based on your?
I don't know, and that's a determination of DOB and the architect, licensed architect.
So he can provide this video to to Mr. Longo and
Yeah.
we can have a submission.
Yeah.
Do you want to bring in the other person?
Any other questions for, okay, let's bring in the other person.
I think she's caller in user 1, I think it is.
How do I bring that person in? Oh, 16, this is a person with the last.
Caller user 1, I think is her.
75297, is that?
No, caller user 1.
Oh, caller user 1.
I believe that's Miss.
Okay, Yep, okay, I'm letting the person.
She said she's speaking, you can't hear me.
Okay, I just let the person in caller user one.
Hello.
Is that Mary
Can you
Rutherford?
hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Mary Radcliffe. I am actually speaking in behalf of my father, who she rad. So basically, what I wanted to, before anything, bring to your attention, Jerry Vitucci was actually in the 80s a city Department of Building employee who was convicted on felony charges. So just to make that clear, just so you're aware.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Just to make you aware of that he was a city an inspector for a Department of Building.
I'm going to mute you now.
Ms. Rutherford?
I muted her. Please keep your testimony relevant to the zoning issues that are before the board. Thank you. If you can't follow the instruction, your 3 minutes will be cut.
Proceed, Ms. Rappaport. And
Okay, so
stick to DOB's comments.
okay, so basically, Nicholas Vitucci had no right to actually convert this property. It was all forged documents. Gino Longo self-certified, and this is after meeting with Mr. Rosen, Department of Building employee who reviewed everything, basically said, due to the fact that Gino Longo self-certified, a lot of this stuff was not caught, and this is the reason why this actually started to build. And if they had caught it at the time, if it wasn't self-certified, this would have never been allowed. If you look at most of the documents, they're signed by Nick Vitucci, and Nick Vitucci had no rights to sign for this. There was a court order that even basically his Vitucci's representative basically said that Nick Vitucci had no rights or decision-making to 2315B DeMeyer Street. There are documents that are actually in front of you that were emailed to me. One of the documents that's signed by Mr. Longo has Jimmy Vitucci. There is no Jimmy Vitucci. So if you really analyze all these documents and see what went on, this whole thing is nothing but fraud that was committed by Nick Vitucci and Gino Longo. And at the moment, the only case that is in court is the fraud case, the banking fraud that Mr. Vitucci committed with Danica Matoja, and basically selling the property in a fake corporation to Danica Matoja to avert a court order. So that's the only case that currently is in court. There is no other case in court. And Nick Vitucci was never given permission to make any decision makings for 2315 DeMeyer Street. And I don't know why he continues to falsify information. And he actually just falsified another thing to you guys, that he's a silent partner in 2315 DeMeyer Street.
She is representing that he is here on behalf of Ms. Matoja, who's the property owner. Whether he and the property owner have an agreement regarding use or ownership of the property is not relevant to his representation of the property owner, as he has.
Right, I
stated.
understand that. But what I'm trying to explain to you is the case right now that is in court is the 2315B, okay? The Danica Matoja and Nick Vitucci committed fraud in converting this property from the original 2315 LLC into, so Danica Matoja technically in court, that's what we're in court for.
I do want to redirect you for a moment, because there's only so many things that are actually before us. And if you have a position on any of the action, the Department of Buildings filing, or Mr. Vitucci's response to that filing, if you have any comments that are related to that, directly related to that, or related to, are you supporting DOB position? if there's anything like that that you would like to testify to, that could be helpful for us. But characterizations of other matters that are not directly related to this matter, or personal characterizations of people, that's not something that helps us come to a ruling. So if there's anything else that you'd like to say as it relates to the application that was brought by the Department of Buildings, please state that now.
Okay, I think that the C of O of 2315B Demeyer Street should be revoked.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else to add to that point?
Are you speaking?
No, I was,
I'm speaking to 2315, 2315. Sorry. Ms.
no,
Rabb.
I was just making you aware because of the fact that you were stating regarding court orders, so I was just making something clear for you.
For that clarification.
Thank you. Do we go to
Appreciate
the
it.
public?
Okay,
We
Yeah.
did.
let's go to the public.
We didn't go to public.
But she's the property owner of the next one who's, she's public. Okay. Okay.
It already happened.
That's,
Oh.
It already happened.
that's not what he told me to do, but you didn't tell me.
Anyway, let's just,
Okay. Did not advise me of that, but okay. Okay, let's go to the public. The case we're currently discussing is 2024-47A, 2315B Demeyer Street, the Bronx. Should you wish to discuss, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 161-977-8579 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes to respond. If you're in the Zoom room already and calling, you can raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen.
okay. So while we are waiting for anybody to call in. Yeah, DOB, Representative, Ms. Brandon, do you want to add anything to the discussion?
Is your mic on?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The only thing I will add at this time is to say that given City of Yes amendments, there have been some changes to these zoning provisions, and a registered design professional could refile, and it's possible that many of the objections could be addressed by the new zoning amendments, but they'd have to comply with all provisions in order to obtain approval.
Okay.
So you're saying that curing this would not necessarily mean demolishing it?
I'm sorry, could you rephrase the question?
To cure the objections would not necessarily mean that the building needs to be
I think it's too
demolished.
premature to say that.
Correct.
Correct.
It appears that it would not have to be demolished under the new amendments.
Is that, okay, that, Okay, can you, if that is the situation, why didn't DOB put that in their letter? And why wasn't that option given to the property owner? Why was a revocation sought then?
These amendments didn't pass until middle of December. So at the time that we submitted our proceeding, they were not yet passed.
Can you update your papers with?
Yeah.
Can you update your papers with the opportunities to cure that are now available to the owner?
I guess does
Yes.
I guess a couple questions. Number one is DOB standing by the action brought before the board seeking to revoke the CO, or is there some other path that DOB is insisting upon? And then before you answer that, maybe this board would like to adjourn to afford DOB and the respondent an opportunity to research, review the recently passed regulations and determine what's an appropriate path forward.
We can't do the full analysis until the applicant refiles and proves compliance with everything. But DOB is open to an adjournment in order for them to submit supporting documentation demonstrating that they are in compliance with City of Yes amendments that were just passed.
Yes.
asked for the public to come, call in. Mr. Vitucci, as you've just heard from the Department of Buildings, it seems like there is a path forward. And this board and Department of Buildings are willing to not render decision on this action to afford you an opportunity to hire or investigate whatever professionals are needed to prosecute the necessary changes to keep your house.
Okay. All right, so do I just contact the architect to find out what the new rules are, or what do I do next?
I would strongly suggest that you retain a licensed architect who can address the question of City of Yes, all the zoning regulations and how it would apply on the entire zoning lot, not just your building, on the entire zoning lot. So the analysis has to look at the entire zoning lot and how the City of Yes regulation will make the entire zoning lot complying, and also individual buildings also comply, therefore.
Okay. And I'm only responsible to make 2315 B compliant.
Well, no, you also have, you are required, since you're the 2315B was the second building that was built. So the responsibility, onus is on 2315B to make sure that the entire zoning lot still remains in compliance with the construction of the new building, which is 2315B. Because 2315 is existing, there's no change to that. So you have to.
I think his question was regarding floor area in 2315 and the space in the basement. And just briefly to answer your question, you are not responsible for modifications to the premises on 2315, but any work on 2315B cannot create a non-compliance or non-conformance on 2315.
Understood.
I would strongly suggest that you retain an architect that could work with DOB to legalize this this unit.
Okay. Okay. I will do that 100%.
Okay, I think you would need a good amount of time. I would say push this out because the zoning, just understanding the zoning resolution, responding to that, preparing new sets of drawings and arguments, and for DOB to review it. And I also want to be mindful of how this would affect the so-called conversion of garage to residential. I really leave that up to DOB. And it's not 2315B's place to make a determination of what can happen on 2315. And you have to accept what 2315 has, and legally that is, and then work your space around it. I just want to also be very clear on.
Okay.
Just
to make clear that also that we have a court order that they were supposed to allow me in to do that work. They just keep blocking refuses the judge's order and just doesn't allow access. So we attempted to do what we needed to do, what we believed was correct at the time, and we just keep getting blocked by them.
The 2315 is not before this board.
Right.
The distance between buildings and the height of 2315B is before this board.
Okay.
But the FAR on the entire zoning lot is also the board.
In any event, you were given very direct instructions on the way forward. So
yes.
Does anyone?
Is that it?
Okay. No, I think
We're done.
that's.
Okay.
I would say you need at least 6 months, if not more. So I will take, I would say for now, we adjourn it for 6 months, and DOB, please stay in contact with Ms. Matthias and our legal team as to when you think you will be ready to either remove the application, withdraw the application, or continue to proceed if needed.
And DOB's statement made clear that they wouldn't be willing to review or consider withdrawing this application until at least a job is filed. So Mr. Vitucci, to that, if that is the path you'd like to take, please get that filed post haste.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Okay, so are we adjourning this to 6 months, to? Are
We'll
we
reach out and
getting
I
a
will,
date?
I will email all parties.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when I mean adjournment, we want an adjournment with the answer, hopefully that this application does not need to be revoked because you have addressed all the comments. Not an adjournment or prolonging the discovery period.
Okay,
That's
understood.
a little concerned, with the long period, the 6-month period to adjourn, because I don't think a zoning analysis will take 6 months.
I agree. I think it is everything put together, all the documents, everything that DOB would require to review and approve and the back and forth. That's kind of why I'm factoring 6 months. If you think it'll be less, I'm open to your suggestion.
No, I'll defer to DOB and to chair, but I just worry about providing a long time and ending up in the same place in 6 months. And so I don't think a zoning analysis will take 6 months. I do think filing a job that also won't take 6 months, but I'd like to hear what DOB has to say actually about that.
The DOB is welcome to come back before that 6 months and issue a letter requesting withdrawal, to the extent that the facts are in place at that time.
DOB, what is an appropriate frame? Yeah.
What we're really concerned with is we're not going to withdraw or dismiss. We don't want anything withdrawn or dismissed until there's an approval and a new CO can be issued. And again, that the premise owner can demonstrate that they're complying with the new amendments. We do want to keep this open until that's done.
And is 3 months turnaround time reasonable or 4 months?
I think 3 months could be reasonable.
Okay, then make it 3.
I think
3 months. Mr. Veducci, you have 3 months to resolve this issue.
Okay,
Okay.
yes, thank you.
I have a question.
Well,
Sorry.
anything else?
Anything else for anybody? Thank you.
Thank
If there's this is for Miss Radvafor. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your last name properly. Anything you want to state that in addition to what you've stated, which is related to DOB vocation,
Yes.
please put it in letter and in writing and supporting documents.
Okay, but my question is right now, can the property still be rented?
That's not before this board.
That is not before us.
Okay,
Yeah.
so who would that be before?
I don't know. I honestly,
We can't advise on, we can't give you legal counsel.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, so-
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Special order calendar, item number 158892BZ, volume 3, 3007 East Tremont Avenue, the Bronx.
Okay, this would be
Todd Dale.
Dale.
Hi, good afternoon. Todd Dale for the applicant.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do so affirm.
I don't think we had any questions or comments. We were
Um,
satisfied with the submission.
I just have one question. Chair, you had mentioned, or I'm not, I believe it was you had mentioned about the note regarding the outdoor seating area. There is a note on the plan that currently reads outdoor seating to be approved by NYC DOT dining out program. Would
Okay.
you like us to add BSA
Yes.
takes no position on compliance of outdoor seating area also?
Yeah.
We'll add that and we'll resubmit the plan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Let's go to the public then.
The case for, The case we're currently discussing is 8892 BZ, volume 3, 3007 East Tremont Avenue, the Bronx. Should you wish to discuss, dial 669-254-5252. Enter the webinar, at the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 161-977-8579 and press the pound sign. At the prompt after that, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're permitted in, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
How much time will it take for you to add that note?
We can do it this week, so whenever the board has an opportunity to put this on the calendar.
Okay, I just want to see what our schedule is for.
Decision
cases. You can put this for decision. 27. We have 1, 2. But this is already almost like this. Yes. But we may not even get through some of them. I don't know. 7. Till February. Oh, that's heavy. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Okay. Today, I'm not having a very good day with my computer. Okay. We will do our best, try to schedule it, but I think February is looking more,
February.
so,
Understood, but we'll get the submission in shortly regardless.
okay. We'll do early February and appreciate your patience and understanding. I want to make a-
January 23rd,
let's make motion to close.
okay. A motion to close, Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta.
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dale.
New cases, item number 16, 99000 BZ, volume 4, 14706 76th Avenue, Queens. Jay Goldstein.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Aye. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
Do
Year.
you affirm, raise your right hand, I'm sorry. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond on any said board member questions?
I affirm.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Jay Goldstein on behalf of the applicants. First and foremost, Happy New Year. Now that I'm sworn in. I listened to the review session. I agree Commissioner Unit is a somewhat of a complicated site plan, but we agree that we're not asking for a waiver, and therefore we agree to the condition or the, as is usual in the BSA resolutions, it says, you know, DOB to confirm all matters of zoning. I don't know that there were any other questions on this. I'm happy to answer them if there are, but we appreciate the board's review and understanding.
Is that satisfactory, Commissioner Yoon?
Yeah, that's basically what I had said. So thank you.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Let's go to the public.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 9900BZ Volume 4, 147 14706 76th Avenue, Queens. Should you wish to discuss, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 161-977-8579 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if in the Zoom room already, you can raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're permitted in and recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to speak.
So upon discussion, given our agenda, I would recommend that we close it, and Mr. Goldstein, you submit the revised plan with that note.
Was that note on the plans or in the resolution? It's usually in the resolution. I don't care, I'm fine, but it's, that's my only question.
That's fine. We can do it in the resolution. We can add it, we can state that in the resolution. And that would be a condition of, and we will schedule this for decision in February, early February.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Motion to close.
Sorry, Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Muted.
Sheta,
Sorry, aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. See you
Thank you.
tomorrow. Bye.
Item number 17, thank you. Item number 17, 2215 BZ Volume 2, 219 26th Street, Brooklyn. Please fold there, hold it there. Yep. Who is April Cardina? Oh, Mr. Yellen is for tomorrow.
Go ahead.
Aye. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Please state your name for the record. Sorry, please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Elise Fullader from Eric Palatnik PC. I spoke to ownership. Since the last approval, they have gotten partners that are now funding the project, so they do not need a construction loan. And the partners are, in fact, the architect, the engineer, and the person constructing the building, the contractor. So they're ready to go, demolished once we get this BSA approval, and the partners are the people that are actually spending the money and also going to be the professionals on the project.
Okay. And can you provide a little bit detail of a timeline to get clear? Yeah.
No problem. So I will do, in the next submission, I can do a standard timeline because once we get this, they're ready to demolish and start construction.
So in your letter also, you could provide that the status is of, okay. Any questions or comments? Let's go to the public.
The case we're currently discussing is 2215 BZ Volume 2, 219 26th Street, Brooklyn. Should you wish to comment on this case, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 161-977-8579 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you are calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
So my recommendation, Ms. Fullader,
Mhm.
will be to close this.
Mhm.
And we will schedule this for vote on January 27th. To get to that, you will need to make a submission very quickly.
No problem. I can make a submission by the end of the week.
Yes. Yeah, due date is January 9th, so. If you need extra day or two, please reach out to
Me.
Oh, you're the assigned project manager?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes Friday is the best day to, focus. So Tony, if you'll allow me till Friday, that would help.
Okay. Taking that long?
Yeah, it's weird. For some reason it's,
I think we're well past 3 minutes.
I don't understand what happened. Where's the timer in my other phone? I don't know. That's weird.
I think I can say we're well past 3.
Yeah, we are well past it. That's the one.
I'm going to make a motion to close, and please make your submission on those, the
Okay.
timeline, and just a letter clarifying on the status as to who the partners are and all that.
Okay.
And we'll schedule this for Jan 27.
Motion to close, Chair Shanda.
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta.
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta.
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 18, 2018-151A, Volume 2, 6-05, 129th Street, Queens. You don't have to be sworn on in this case.
Elise Fullader from Eric Palatnik PC. Thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure that you received last Thursday. I submitted the objections from DOB and the response back and forth, so you can see it. Most of the comments were resolved. We're just cleaning up a few things. The building is fully constructed, and we hope to get this all resolved soon. But we're headed in a positive direction with DOB.
Okay, that's good. When did you submit to DOB the response to the zoning resolution section 62?
When did I gave it to you guys on Thursday, but I can check when we submitted to DOB. DOB audit response. So trying to find a date.
Okay, I think I found the document that you had submitted. Audit response.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's from 11/21/2024.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and DOB has not responded?
No, they are good with this portion of it, but we still have, last time I spoke to the architect, we still have a few more items to, I don't know how to settle up, whatever they do. And she still anticipates we need 1 or 2 more DOB examiner appointments to resolve all the comments. But this portion, we're good with.
Okay, 6,200 is good.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Let's go to the public.
The case we're currently discussing is 2018-151 A, Volume 2, 605, 605, 6-05, 129th Street, Queens. Should you wish to comment, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, enter the Weber ID number 161-977-8579 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you're calling in, if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss. Is there something going on with the phones? Are so slow. No, seriously, the timer's on red. This is the other phone. It's weird.
I'm going to make a motion to close. I don't think we need any additional submission on this, so.
So you don't need a submission? You don't want you don't need a further submission?
I think any update that may have transpired between now and Jan 27th, if you want to just give us an update on the status, that you can send us a letter at least a week or a couple of days before the.
No problem. I'll do that.
Yes.
Shut off days.
Okay. The clock chimed, and so I make a motion to close.
Chair Shonda.
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta.
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta.
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Continued hearing items, appeals calendar, item number 19, 2023, 41A through 46A, Longstreet Avenue, the Bronx.
Okay. Would be Mr. Dale. I think he's in the room, right?
There he is.
Good afternoon, Todd Dale for the applicant.
This is an A case. You don't need to be sworn in, Mr. Dale. Please proceed. Do you have anyone else with you?
No, just myself today.
Okay.
I did listen to the review session and heard the questions that were raised. I'll address them now. Hopefully we can resolve them or follow up in submission. I understand DOT's, any response from DOT may still be forthcoming, but first, with respect to the builder's pavement plan, Chair, we understand the concerns. We're agreeable to a pre-permit construction with respect to an approved builder's pavement plan, because that's what would be required, I believe anyway, for just an as-of-right construction. So we're agreeable to that condition. And we believe that that's the appropriate, because then the DOT division that actually reviews these for the builder's pavement plan can, confirm. But upon information and belief, the draft we provided does meet all code requirements. With respect to the furthest northern lot and the 50-foot distance from the intersection, if there is a particular section DOT can cite, I just am passing this on from the architect who had no knowledge of such requirement. But I think, as you noted, Chair, it's not proposed to open Longstreet Avenue between Hadding and Chaffee. So this really isn't like a four-way intersection. It's a bend of the corner of the two-way, and we believe the curb cut is 50 feet from the actual intersection of Longstreet and Hadding. But regardless, it would be impossible to locate the curb cut on any other frontage. But we believe this would also be resolved through the BPP process, and DOT and DOB could review that during that process for the pre-permit condition. The last question of substance that was raised was with respect to the proposed widening. If I have the ability to share screen, maybe I can clarify it a little bit on the plan. I know this is sort of an unusual site. Do I have the ability to share?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's try and share this. You can tell me if you're seeing that now.
Not
The
yet.
Site
No.
plan?
Yes.
Okay, great. So to clarify, with regard to the opening of Long Street, and this, I know this has been going on, this application for a bit, but just to clarify, and hopefully I'll blow this up a little bit to see, but Long Street Avenue is a city mapped street. The only portions of Long Street Avenue that are proposed to be improved are the actual mapped street, which is the city street. So no other private property is being proposed to be improved. But just to clarify, Long Street is mapped and it's shown over here. This right here to here to here is the 80-foot width map of Long Street Avenue. Generally, for applications, even as of right applications, a property owner that's developing would need to improve the street to the center line, which is right here, right under the 34 and the 35, plus 5 feet. And that was what it was originally shown on the original site plan that was filed with the board. Inspector Daly, who was with the fire department at the time this application was first heard, said that the fire department had concerns about accessing Long Street Avenue. If you recall from satellite photos, this area is actually sort of open. It's a dirt road right now. So cars can drive through. I've driven through myself from over here through Long Street to Hadding Avenue. But the fire department raised concerns. So the property owner agreed to take on the additional cost that's not normally required to go beyond the 5 feet in center and improve all the way to the existing curb line here, which is this 21 feet. So the total distance here is the property is mapped for the top 40 or the western 40 feet of Long Street Avenue. So this area right here, which is 16 feet, is what's proposed to be where the buildings are located. This will be 15 feet sidewalk. This 9 feet is the portion that's within the privately owned property. And then this extra 21 feet is the not private property, but the city street that is being proposed, so that the resulting width of improved Long Street would be 30 feet. So that's the history, and that's why it was proposed. And in order to alleviate the concerns of the fire department, the property owner was willing to take on the extra cost of improving that additional 21 feet to ensure the fire department had access. And at the time, Inspector Daly was, pleased with that. So I don't know if that helps answer some of the questions of what's being proposed to be improved. This area here, which is the bottom of the screen, which would be to the east, is not touched. The adjacent property line by survey is actually here, but we're not proposing to disturb any of the greenery that exists over here. There's some trees that are planted there actually within the bed of the map street, but we're just going to the edge of the dirt and taking this extra 21 feet, which is the city map street, and improving it to create a total 30-foot passage. So I don't know if that helps clarify what's being proposed.
Because what my question was, where is this remaining 30 feet? Who owns that remaining 30 feet? And you answered that's a city-owned site. Because what confused me was the letter, because it said the rest of Long Street Avenue is privately owned. And that's why I had to question as to how you're committing to a 30-foot wide roadbed when it is privately owned. So if I understand it, apart from the portion that is under the developer's ownership, that 9 foot of the Long Street Avenue, the remaining is city-owned. Remaining of the blue is city-owned.
Correct. And I think some of the confusion, and also when the Department of Transportation originally raised their question, and I'm going to switch to the topographical map, they had questions about this area here. I don't know if you remember, from lack of a more elegant word, there's a little notch right here in the private property. And they raised a question because there was a question, something about a portion of Hatting Place being vested to the city. This is city property, and it goes back to the topographical map that we had submitted. I'm flipping to that screen now. And if you take a look at it, this is that area right here. So our lots don't include this little green area right here, which is what this is here being proposed to be improved. So this is all city property going up here, over here, down here, and then over here. So nothing is being proposed to be improved beyond the 9 feet of private property and then the city street. And then the question about the opening over here, it doesn't show on the map, but more to the north, this area here is not being proposed to be open. This is city, but there's some privately owned lots here between the end of our property and Chaffee. So there would be no way to open because we wouldn't have control of this area here. That's why we, wouldn't be able to open this area. So hopefully that provides a bigger picture, and sometimes it's easier to see the screen, I think, to point it out.
Don't have an issue with the opening rest of the Longstreet Avenue from Hatting to Chaffee for what I stated. The reason my concern was from Hatting to what's the other street with the G?
I think that's Glennon over here. This
Yeah.
is Glennon, right?
That is my concern. And so you answered that question. That
Right.
portion of what's shown in blue is the portion that's going to be built, and of the portion of that Longstreet of the blue, it's city owned and held, and remaining is held by your applicant. And that would add to the total of 30-foot wide street bed of Longstreet Avenue.
Right. Then it would turn this dirt road into a paved, improved street, which would be better access both for the neighborhood and the fire department.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
That.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I think the only question I have is when I look at Zola and I look at what remains for that next block between Hatting and Chaffee, it seems like it's the property that would prevent you from, from filling out that whole block with a new street is owned by the Parks and Recreation Department. So it is under city ownership. So I don't know if that's why DOT keeps bringing it up, but that's where I'm confused that they keep bringing it up. They keep insisting on it. It does seem like it's in city ownership. So could they force the developer to improve that whole block because you are developing on a property that fronts on that street?
I think in this case, first of all, Parks Department, it's even though it may be under its ownership, Parks may not, oftentimes we have noticed portions of parkland, it becomes not a desirable space for parking or vehicular access ways. And
I'm bringing it up because DOT keeps bringing it up, and it does seem like we haven't confirmation one way or the other. That's
yeah, I think this is more of for the entire block, the subject site doesn't need that extension for it to access. And the access can be done through Longstreet and Hatting. So
my only to Mr. Dale's point, when you do construction or improvements, you have to improve the street and sidewalk up to the center line +5. Sometimes DOT increases that requirement depending on the site. You are improving along that section of Longstreet Avenue. And DOT keeps bringing it up. And so in a typical situation, when you front on a street, you would need to improve that street up to the center line +5. So I guess I still have that as an open question, whether they can enforce that here. And we don't seem to have had a response from them, a reply from the applicant's latest response. So that's where I still have an open question about whether or not that would need to be approved.
I would just say to that it is the center line to 5 feet, but the portion between Hatting and Chaffee, We're only proposing the single building there, and the access is not going to be from Long Street. It's going to be from Hatting. So we aren't actually proposing any access there. There's a large extent of property there that is not being proposed and improved. There is the Parks Department that does own that other portion. And I would say that for this particular case and this particular appeal that we're seeking for is just, you know, this is a review where we're trying to determine if the city has any intent of acquiring the private property in which we want to build. And I would just note that for this, the property owner has already taken on a significant expense of improving another 21 feet to satisfy the fire department for a full block front. And any opening between Hatting and Chaffee, we take no position. If the city wants to take that on, we wouldn't object. The city is welcome to do it. But at this point, that would be a punitive cost to put on this property owner who's already taken on a significant cost of, you know, voluntarily willing to open Long Street to the full 30-foot width.
Mr. Dale, I have a question, just pedagogically kind of. It appears from the New York City streets map that Long Street at the premises is a map street, as well as Hatting and Glennon going through the water are mapped. Do you know why DOT would be asking you to map, improve Long Street, but not Hatting and Glennon to the water, which abut your property, given that they're map streets on a corner lot?
So I'm not quite sure. Hang on a second. Let me share again, and maybe you can talk me through what your question is a little bit here. So this is the tax map, the current tax map with the existing tax lots shown. So you're saying the question as far as improvement, this is the area that we're proposing to improve right here. And then this little area, this section of Hatting that extends into this notch here. Now, what was your question about improvement? I mean, beyond that?
And improving the street is center line abutting the property plus a few feet. Why is DOT not requiring any portion of Hatting or Glennon to be improved?
Okay, well, we are proposing to improve a portion of Hatting. So this is the area where I'm going to draw right here.
Just with the property, which is usually
so like right here is proposed to be improved, and then right here is being proposed to be improved. So this notch here. So it is a portion of Hatting that's being proposed, this sort of intersection of Hatting and Long Street, and then this Long Street. This area right here with the word street right here, this is already improved. This is already a paved, improved area right here. If you look at the Google Street View, you'll see that this is paved and it comes here, and this is the dirt road area here. So I don't know if that answers the question, or maybe I'm not understanding it, but.
And Hatting at your property to the water are mapped streets and they're unimproved. And it's inconsistent of DOT to require the streets abutting the properties improvement of just those streets, but not the other mapped streets which abut your property.
So there's inconsistency.
There's an inconsistency.
In DOT's ask.
Yes. It might be clearer if you pull up the New York City street map.
Okay. I'll stop the share. Let me take a look at the city and find the New York City street map here. Of course, I always forget what block and lot we are, so let me. All right, so I'm looking at the street map now. Let me share the screen here. Maybe you can. This is the online street map right here.
Two of these lot typologies, or three of them, would be corner lots, right?
So if we're so looking at the site plan would be corner lots. Hang on a second, let's take a look. So we would have this, you would say this would be a corner lot and this would be a corner lot.
Right.
So we are improving here up to the end. This is, we are improving here to this dead end. This is water right here. So I don't know if they would want us to go any further there. And this is being improved here as far as this area. And this here, this is already paved. This is already a paved area. So I don't know if I'm understanding your question or not responding to the comment properly, but when I look at the street map, we're proposing to improve all of this area right through here. Including the extra 21 feet that extends beyond the required 5 feet to the center line. So, I mean, I guess my response would be is that between Chaffee and Hatting, it's not the same situation where we don't control the full western frontage. It is a Parks Department owned lot. But, you know, there's only the single home that's being proposed at the corner or the intersection with Hatting, and we're proposing to improve adjacent to it to provide access. You know, as I said, we don't object if the city wants to take on the expense to improve that connection, but we don't believe it's pertinent to this particular application. And this property owner has already taken on the added expense to fully improve to 30 feet, which is beyond regular requirements.
Okay.
Are we anticipating a response from DOT from the latest applicant response?
I never anticipate a response from DOT. I look forward to it if it happens, but I'm not sure.
Jillian, do we have an update from DOT?
We can hear, I don't know. All right, we'll get back to you on it because I don't, she's not.
We believe that the responses that we submitted to the record, both most recently, but then the October, I think the December submissions were the two prior. We believe that the maps that we provided address all the questions. And, you know, though we, you know, respect DOT's comment about the 50-foot intersection, you know, absent code to site, we can't respond to it, but we believe that the suggestion, Chair, that you put forth, that a builder's pavement plan be approved prior to issue of permits is a very reasonable condition, and we're agreeable to that. And we believe then that would allow any concerns to be addressed later on in the development process.
Working for some.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my microphone wasn't working. I don't anticipate any more comments from DOT. They didn't say anything about capital plans being planned for over there. They just wanted further clarification on the meets and bounds and a cleaned up map plans, which we didn't get them. So I don't think they're going to have any other comment.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Jillian.
Thank you. All right. I'm satisfied with my concern and comments that were raised.
You got to do the public.
Yep.
Let's go to the public.
So let's.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Should we call the public?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The case we're currently discussing is 2023 41A through 46A, 71 Longstreet Avenue, the Bronx. Should you wish to discuss, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 161-977-8579 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hands at the bottom of your screen. Once you're permitted in, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss. A representative from the councilwoman is here. Do they wish to speak?
Yeah.
Ms. Cardena?
She in the room?
Mhm.
Yes.
Remember?
I permitted her to speak.
Okay.
You did.
Yeah.
Ms. Cardena?
Good afternoon. We have nothing to report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Randazzo, are you here for this case? Yes. Sounds the same, please. Okay. Oh, that's what he is.
Anybody who wants to speak for this case, please, regarding this case, raise your hand. Raise your Zoom.
Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Mr. Randazzo had his hand,
Yeah, I permitted him to speak.
not on the screen. Oh, there he is. Here.
Okay.
Mr. Randazzo?
Mr. Randazzo, do you have anything you'd like to say? We notice your hand's up, but it looks like your microphone's on, but we can't hear anything you're saying.
Mr. Randazzo, if you're having any difficulty with accessing the volume, you may, in the interest of time, you may want to send us a letter with your comments and concerns. We do review all letters that are sent for review, for our consideration. It can be submitted to submit@bsa.nyc.gov.
Anyone else who wishes to discuss this 2023-41A through 2023-46A Long Street Avenue, the Bronx? Please raise your hand, your Zoom hand. Anyone else? Nope. Final one off.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Randazzo, I do not know if you wanted to speak for this case, but if you did and you're not able to, please submit a letter stating your comments. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate everybody's participation.
Can you hear me now?
There.
Yes, we can.
I had shut off my phone. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Hi. Hi, longtime resident of the neighborhood. Just want to a few things. The gentleman, I couldn't see whose mouth was moving, but asking about the improving of the other corner. There are both sides of this development, both ends of this development are end units. So there is a proposal that for the developer to have to finish the curb corner, the curb, curb itself on the top or the top end of the street in the notch, one side of the notch and also the other side of the notch. I think what the gentleman was asking was, what about the other corner that is at an end unit? It's not improved to the sense that it is also a gravel road and also weeds and dirt. So it's not improved in that it's not got a curb there, it's not got curb cuts, it's not got sidewalk, it's not got any tree pits, it's not got any of that. It is at grade level with the street, Glennon and Long Street, but it's not improved at all. And if you look at an aerial shot, I'll show you what I mean. It's not improved, and that is an end, a corner. I don't know what the term that the gentleman used was, but a corner abutting an end of a development. And if you're going to improve the other two corners, believe me or not, three corners, because you have to improve across the street, across from the notch on Hadding. You have to improve that fourth corner as well, because that's at the end of your corner lot at the end of the development. The second, and I haven't made it many of these hearings, I apologize. The second point I want to bring up, and maybe you could tell me, has flooding been thoroughly addressed? Because to build these houses today in a flood plain or flood zone like that, I don't know. I'm sure it's been addressed, but I haven't heard it. And I'm sorry if I'm late to the party and if I don't deserve an answer on this, I understand. But what are the elevations of these two-story houses going to be? Because this is not a two-story house. This is going to be the equivalent of a four-story house once they put that up in the air enough to get a car to get out of flood danger. That's the back. That whole development is on the very back end of a lagoon, where when a nor'easter comes in, it blows all the water down the lagoon and it all backs up in there. That is a choke point. It always has been. It always will be. You could ask the dude, the guy that owns the marina, and anybody that lives there, they'll tell you that is a serious choke point. The other point I wanted to bring up is,
Please, 3 minutes are up. Please wrap up, Mr. Randazzo.
yes, and the width of the road. I don't see how, if Longstreet Avenue is coming up straight, a lot would seem to have been made about the widening of the road. What's there now is not a dirt road. It's a path that's one car wide. So now that road's going to be made 2 cars wide plus another 5 feet. Is that what the developer is saying? It's going to be, like, in other words, it's going to be 2 roads of traffic, no parking on either side, and 5 feet more. What's that road going to look like? That improved road, traffic wise, in terms of lanes of traffic and or parking on either side of it.
Thank you, Mr. Randazzo, for your questions. I appreciate you raising your concerns and comments. I'm just going to regarding the Longstreet improvement, that has to be based on builder's pavement plan. That has to meet all the regulatory controls of DOT. All the requirements that goes into building a city street are the requirements that this applicant would have to meet, and prior to building it has to get all the necessary approvals from DOT to build it per DOT standards. And the width of the road, built width of the roadbed, will be 30 feet. And then there will be the sidewalk on the property owner's side of the street. The improvement that is being proposed by the applicant is also along the intersection of Hatting and Longstreet Avenue towards the water. And that it's like a carve out. So it would be almost like a T-shaped T-shaped corner that would be improved upon. The question regarding Glennon, and I am looking at the aerial that has been submitted by the applicant. And I do want Mr. Dale to clarify how that section of that notch of Glennon past Longstreet is developed, because it's from the aerial map. It doesn't seem to be as it's being proposed for Hatting.
And Mr. Dale, Mr. Randazzo did pick up on that one point that I was trying to ask about
Glennon.
Which seems to be an inconsistency in DOT's application of regulations. So it's something that we can probe and find out if the notch on Hatting and Glennon require the same treatment or different treatment.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say the Glennon is privately owned.
Right.
Hatting is city owned. So in order to improve Glennon to the water, you'd have to, the city would have to take, or they'd have to require the private owner to, I mean, you can't even improve that corner. I think to Frank Randazzo's question, why that corner on Glennon and Longstreet isn't even being improved. It's on private property.
Right.
As opposed to Hatting, which is city property. So you can provide a public right of way from what I'm gathering on the Zola.
That's exactly correct. It's owned by the Hammond Cove Boat Club. So there would be no possibility of improving the extension of Glennon.
Right.
That's the difference.
So the portion of Long Street and Hatting that is being improved, it's a combination of property that is owned by the applicant and city, and no other private properties is being brought into question for development, which the applicant cannot do because they don't own the property.
Right.
And city cannot do it because city doesn't own the property unless city acquires the property. So, okay. Mr. Randazzo, you can lower your hand. We have heard you. If you have any questions or any additional comments, please do send your comments to submit@bsa.nyc.gov. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, let's, I want to make a motion to close this.
Motion to close, Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Sorry, I was muted. Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Okay. And we'll get back to as to when we will schedule this for hearing.
Understood. Thank you.
Item number 2024-14A, 23 Zarelli Court, Staten Island.
Todd Dale for the applicant. I don't believe I have to be sworn in. I'll just say I did listen to your review session. Just to confirm, there were seeker comments issued that we're responding to in the WRP. As soon as that response is available, we'll submit it. And I've been informed by the project architect that per the fire department letter, the new fire department representative requested that an application be filed with the central office, and it has been and it's in progress. And we believe that once that application is resolved, that'll take care of any of the outstanding fire department questions. But just know that the short answer is that both seeker and the fire department request are pending, and we'll submit a response to the board as soon as it's available.
Okay. So I think best would be for us to hold off on scheduling it unless we have those responses.
Sure. And then I believe Ms. Ebanks Chu is the project manager. If she wants to reach out to me, I can see if I can provide an estimate, to the board as far as how long it would take. But I would say a minimum of 6 weeks. But I'll get back with an estimate as soon as I can.
I had a question, that is, did fire department at all require no parking along that easement area?
I don't believe it was included in the letter, and that's something that would be done through the central operations review. They may request it. I don't think that would be an issue for that. There's plenty of parking on the 2 lots that are accessed by Zarelli, but we didn't make any changes to the plans yet pending the fire department response.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Any questions or comments? Let's go to the public.
The case we're currently discussing is 2024-14A, 23 Zarelli Court, Staten Island. Should you wish to comment, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 161-977-8579 and press the pound sign. At the prompt after that, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you're calling in on the phone. And if your Zoom room is ready and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to discuss. That woman is calling me again. Unbelievable. Ay, Dios mío. Dios silencio. People realize when hearings are going on. I tell you, this is a fun-filled day for me. It's one thing. I don't give my phone number out. They call me, they get the number. Everybody just gives my number. No, this is city cell. This is so, there's a billboard, right? Hold on.
Right. Okay, right, it's working. So, all right, we will schedule, nobody has called in. Let's coordinate and schedule it in a manner where we have all the responses.
Understood. I'll get back as soon as possible.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, final case, new cases, item number 21, 2024 39A, 34 Van Street, Staten Island.
Todd Dale for the applicant. I was pleased to hear that the board didn't have any major questions during review session. The one question that was raised, Commissioner Shetty, you asked about the firm panel. During the break, I was able to find it. I can either submit it, or if you prefer, I can show you on screen if that's satisfactory. I can just show you quick right now. I'll share right now.
Submit it to the
This is
record.
the firm panel.
Mr. Dale.
Sorry.
Mr. You could do both.
Okay, I was just going to say, this is where it is. That's the site right there. Here's Van Street. I'll blow it up a little bit so you can see. And this is the bottom right here. That's Tompkins Court there. That's down at the bottom right here. So it is outside the flood zone. But we can submit that to the record also.
Yep, perfect.
And any update on the violation status? Or
Oh,
any-
I did not look, but how's this? For the submission, I'll look. I don't believe there's any actually, there may be one violation that was issued actually by the fire department originally because it was occupancy contrary to CO, which has prompted the whole change of use. But I'll double check and I'll confirm if there's any outstanding violations on the site in the submission.
There are no. And our council is saying there are no ECBs.
Okay. I'll see if there's anything else, but I don't believe there are. So it's really just the firm panel that we would need to submit.
Okay, all right. So if you can just make that submission also, but I think overall we were all satisfied. Any questions or comments? If not, let's go to the public.
The case we're currently discussing is 2024 39A. Excuse me, 34 Van Street, Staten Island. Should you wish to discuss, dial 64669-254-5252. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 161-977-8579 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to be heard, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss. Great.
Mr. Dale, how long will it take for you to make these submissions?
I'll get the firm panel this week, if not today.
Okay. My recommendation will be to close it and we schedule it for February. So you have some time. Hmm? Okay. 2 minutes?
21 seconds. Yeah, I don't know why he's doing that. I don't know if 646 is illegal. It might be for the Morris cases.
Okay. Motion to close?
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
This concludes the public hearing for January 6, 2025. We'll resume tomorrow with the zoning cases. At 10 o'clock.
Thank you all.
And if your case was not called today, it is probably on for tomorrow if it's a zoning case. And Mr. Yellen, we have voted on your case and approved it, so you're receiving a resolution within several weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You.
I thank you all.
What is this proxy thing? All of a sudden this proxy thing showed up. I don't know.